workable. Okay, that's teacup fixed. Nope, nope, that's the frame. I want the camera. Okay, now DTE is moving. That's good. He's no longer frozen.
I've been here the whole time.
You have. You were just frozen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fargrim, you're in.
Yeah, I'm just waiting on Azzy in there, but he's setting his spot up. No rush.
That gave me a terrible idea. Sometimes I am terrified of my game master brain.
Why?
Because my brain was about to make a stupid joke, or I guess if you obey the new rulebook, species. Oh god, everything's a species sounds like a terrifying idea for a one shot. You could be
Everything's
anything you want. Yeah, yeah. Let your players select any item, object, whatever they want as their species, and then the DM makes a race sheet for them. And
I enjoy
the
this.
most chaos ever.
I will be a frying pan, please.
I figured you would be on board for this one.
No,
Sounded
no,
exactly like it was up
no.
your alley.
I want to be a girthy dildo. Make a girthy dildo race. I just walk in the room, flopping around.
I would like to be a waffle iron.
My catchphrase would be, "Hey guys, how's it hanging?"
Jesus Christ.
I'd say 4 skin and then slap people with my head.
Oh,
What else do I got? I get hurt. Say
terrible.
balls.
Balls.
Don't worry, guys. I'm coming. There's so much potential. So much potential.
I would watch that. I don't know what that says about me.
Probably no more than the fact that I would run that.
You're a chair with a hole in it? Oh god.
Oh Lord.
Yep. I would give you a high five, but oh no, they fallen in the hole.
Wait,
Oh my god. Oh my
no,
god.
Fargrim.
Fargrim, we could play whack-a-mole.
To locate Fargrim because the camera I was resizing that I thought was Fargrim was actually a second copy of DTE.
There's 2.
I discovered that if I pop people out of the chat, if I pop their videos out of the chat, it's much easier on my end and no one else can skew it by
That's what
going
I'm
in or
doing.
out.
Wait, how do you get it to not skew going in or out? That I've always have that issue, even with pop out.
You got no, because it gives you all each your own window, and then in OBS I just attach.
You're gonna
you
have
to
to show me
specific-
how to do it on an individual basis because I only know how to pop out everyone.
Oh, I just figured it out.
It's
Stupid.
so much easier for it. I just as I pop out the individual window in OBS, I just add window capture to that specific window.
That makes so much
Does that
sense. How
pop
do I
out?
put it back?
Oh my god, you can pop out individual. You have just saved me a stupid amount of time.
Yeah, that's
It-
fantastic.
It stopped people from fucking up my streams when they drop in and out or when they turn video on and off.
Dude, I have been trying to figure out how to do something like that for ages. God, you have just saved me infinite amounts of time in the grand scheme of
And
things. You are
frustration.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is why we do these things. Like, quite literally, this is the point of this sort of thing. Okay, top 500. There we go. We've almost got Fargrim where he goes. 600. I have cut off part of Fargrim's forehead. He didn't need that anyway. Okay. Yeah. Brain, can we cooperate? We're not even high right now. Come on, get it together. There we go. All right. Getting pretty close. Resize. All right, now we just need a right hand crop up to 1000. And I think we're Gucci. Yes! Fire! Chat box is in a perfectly acceptable spot.
I am a level 18 neutral evil tiefling rogue today.
Just today.
Okay.
Just today. I have a thing in my
What
chat.
color? We all know that's the most important question when it comes to tieflings.
Chartreuse.
Chartreuse. Okay. I see you. I see you. I can't
It's more of a
conjure to
goblin.
mind what the hell a color chartreuse is, but you know.
Essentially the color of my wall right there.
Green.
It's green with yellow in it.
So green.
No.
Thank you. Somebody had to say it.
It's
So green.
It is a specific shade of green or yellow.
I mean, all colors.
Channel.
So.
Reader dashboard.
Yeah,
Let me
it's
go ahead.
specific. It's
Human
like a lime
order.
green, kind of. Because just forest green would be unrealistic on a tiefling. I can't believe you would even think that.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, the community has retconned tiefling so hard that every color is perfectly acceptable.
I would like to retract. I will just be a human colored tiefling. Thank you.
A human colored tiefling. I
Yeah.
accept.
Why would you do this? Okay.
I also
have my
won't specify
stream up.
which human color.
Okay, let me see if I can figure out which fucking question. I found it.
All right. Glassity Knuckles is a level 11 neutral evil elf ranger. Starting a neutral evil party.
Neutral evil.
All right, let me get this reconfigured so that it displays correctly. But I have found the question we are on.
We now have a chaotic evil human barbarian joining the evil party.
All right. So that Fargrim is prepared, our first question is going to be, how do you handle big moments like character deaths and plot twists on stream? I believe anyway. I think that was what that giant space was indicating, which was which question we were on. Who has the
That's
stream together
right.
running?
Me, I invited you.
Okay.
Teacup.
Finally.
Wait, Fargrim
Hello.
disappeared from it.
Fargrim, where'd you go?
I do not have an invite.
Oh, well.
I can knock on you, but I do not register as having a knock.
There's Fargrim. Fargrim's back.
Did you get it now? Are you live?
Now what I do, I'm gonna try to get the collaboration section of my manager big.
Here.
I can knock on you.
No, I just posted it in our chat here. The link. Oh, it popped up. Cool. Gotcha. In.
We
There
did
we
it.
go.
Yeah, just make sure you have camera and mic off since we're on a Discord. Okay, you guys ready?
Oh, I know what you mean. I'm good whenever. Eat crackers.
All right, guys. Got you all up live on my channel. Woo!
Ugh.
We're back.
We are
Hello.
back. Long time fucking
Oh my
coming.
Hello.
gosh. Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the first DM Q&A of 2026, hosted by Dark Raven Voyages, with special guests from Dragon Tongue Entertainment, Scald's Hearth, and the Dumpstat. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of our interview from last year.
God, has it been a fucking year already?
Hasn't
Well,
actually. When did we do the last one?
I think it was
I
like
don't
last
know.
year.
I think it was around this time last year. Actually,
Mhm.
now that we
It
mention
feels
it,
like a year. It feels like a year has
Yeah.
passed.
I think a year might have actually passed.
So for a nice, cool little follow-up, uh, what has changed between the last time we spoke and now? We'll start with the Dumpstat.
What has changed? I don't think I was running Oops Only yet when we talked last, or it was new. So before I was running
was
a bunch
new.
of. Maybe it was new. Before I was running a whole bunch of in-person campaigns, but over the last year, taking a step back, and I've done a lot more playing, which is kind of fun. And I expanded the Dumpstat to have 2 ongoing campaigns at the same time, which is really cool. I've got Valboro for people living in a fantasy world that's intermingled with the real world, dealing with the machinations of an evil demon fox called the One Between All, and it's honestly just a hell of a lot more silly and sex jokes. And one player was a changeling who changed into the mayor and then ate poop on camera to fuck with them. So that kind of vibe. And then there's Oops Only, where it's a series of one-shots all set in the same world, starting in prehistoric times, slowly going forward into the future. We are just about to hit like the 1920s, like that type of area. We've passed the industrial age and all that stuff, and the world has slowly gotten more and more fucked up. Last episode, they destroyed the North. The North is gone. There is no, well, there's a giant dragon named Snowflake Lightfall that's running the North that is also infused with hell energy. It's a thing.
Your players really just did pick the delete that way tactic, I guess. What the fuck?
Yep. First, worms took over the North, and then there was just a bastion left. But the bastion was under control by the devil, and a bunch of players may or may not have fucked that up royally. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We always have 3 of the main players, but then I always bring in a guest. Askir was one of my guests for Oops Only Gunslingers, where he had a homebrewed sniper rifle that was probably the most insane weapon and should never be allowed to exist.
I have never been handed something, looked at it, and gone, I don't know if I should warn the DM about this or just enjoy it.
Just enjoyed it. It was fun. It was such a cool weapon. Anyway, yeah, that's me.
Wasn't his damage code like 2d20 or something absolutely bananas?
Yes, it was 2d20 plus your dex. However, it did have the drawback of needing to be reloaded after a single shot. However, you took the feat that made it so that you don't need to be reload. It just automatically happens. So that was fun. And then you were able to stack damage dice and get crits really easily. And yeah, you were doing like 70 damage a pop, but that's okay because the shit I was throwing at you tanked it.
Yeah, I did.
Nice. And now we're in Oathfire together, which is pretty awesome.
Oh hell yeah! Fire. Well, of course. Me and Fargrim were playing D&D together, but we're in off sessions. So over on Ghost's channel, oh my gosh, group action roll. We are playing a Daggerheart campaign where 1 week is Fargrim's group, and then the next week is my group. Not that we're the leaders of the group, but that's just the ones we're in. And it's all within the same world. The first episode had all of us together in the same city, and we're about to go into episode 3 on Tuesday, which will be the first time my group is going just all on our own. Fun sessions. Lots going on. Very there's like the political group and then the other group. Group tall.
Group tall?
Everyone is tall.
Oh, okay. They're just big guys.
Yeah, like we have an elf who's probably the shortest person, but then I'm 6'2" and I'm the second shortest.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel like if I may propose a party name, the Lumbering Forest.
Ooh. I'll keep it in mind.
Dragon Tongue, how about you, my man?
I regret to inform everybody that I have aged 1 year since our last meeting. It's unfortunate, but it happens. More
Unavoidable,
significantly,
in fact.
it's avoidable, but not in a good way. I think not in a good way. Over the course of that year, I had one campaign come to an. Actually, I've had really 2 campaigns come to an end. Our Spelljammer group ended up TPKing to a bunch of mind flayers as they rushed into a mind flare colony. That was fun. And we've ran a Daggerheart campaign. And the Shattered Obelisk is recently ended. A lot has changed in a year. It's been a good, exciting time. Been a very good, exciting time.
Nice.
I'm glad to hear it. And last but not least, Azzy, what's new with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, kind of a lot. There's the real life side of it, which is I am currently actually in Colorado, which has been augmenting my workflow with weed, which is always nice. Especially since I'm one of those creative, musy flow type writers. There's been a lot of chaos at the move, so my schedule has not been as on point as I would like. A lot of stress, so I've had to take a lot more breaks than I'm used to. But all in all, that's that side of it. But as far as campaigns, man, has quite a bit happen. So we've got one of the campaigns, which was a feeder campaign. And by that I mean that campaign was a thing, but it fed into a main campaign. And it was kind of on the off week for that campaign. That campaign ended. And it ended not because it was over per se, it was at a reasonable enough stopping point, and I had one of my players decide he wanted to take a step out of the player's chair and into the game master's chair, and has started running a game which I am streaming on my channel bi-weekly Wednesdays. That would be my good friend Locked. And he has been doing a fantastic job with his homebrew World of Elendor. I knew this man was a born DM, because like they're the DMs that just have it. You know what I mean? This man had a 100-page plus lore document before we started. Yeah. So, that's been that. And then the other campaign, the one that was being fed into the Curse Knight campaign, Curse Knight campaign. That campaign, quickly checks my viewers to make sure none of my players are currently watching. Is officially speaking ending. We'll see what that actually means. So my players decided to create a time bubble accidentally. They fucked with the time space continuum pretty damn hard, and basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this as an opportunity to officially have my players have cleared the first campaign that's ever been finished. from there, I'm going to give them the choice. Do they want to continue with a revamped version of that campaign where I open with a edited video explaining to them what has always been? Do they want to go and do a completely different campaign in the same world, or do they want to do a new game system? So, yeah, that's a thing. And then last but definitely not least, I have finally gotten to go back to the game system in which I got my start as a game master. Fantasy Flight Games Rogue Trader set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. And I have been having an absolute blast with that. And we've been doing that every other Saturday.
I want to see that. That's
Yeah, I
really
mean, tune in
cool.
anytime, bro. It's great.
I'm glad you guys are still continuing doing stuff. I'm sure you learn a lot in each of your endeavors that you just mentioned. So I believe the first question was, how do you handle character deaths and major plot twists when you're live?
Hold on. You don't just get to weasel out of what's happened with you in the last year. You have to answer the
Oh,
question
right.
too.
oh, okay. I'm sorry about
Hey,
that.
man, we put our hearts on the table. Okay.
No, fair.
I caught that. You were trying to go sly there.
I thought it was a smooth segue. Um, a lot has changed. I actually finished my first campaign as a DM last month. That was
Congratulations.
awesome.
Noise.
Now I'm starting to make the compendium about that world and a novel about my first campaign that I'm going to finish in May with most of the original cast. In December, I'm going to do a 12-part miniseries as a pretty much as my last farewell to good old high fantasy, as a more focused towards um my Daggerheart universe, which is more of a Red Dead cowboy, frontiersy, uh, Oregon Trail type setting.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, bro.
We need that. You know what I mean? We need that grim, dark grit in our tabletop.
What? Nah, the guy putting a 40K RPG has no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
We need dirt in our boots, our balls in our hand, and dead bodies laying in the dust behind us.
Have faith, Arthur. I have a plan.
Remind me after this, Fargrim, to tell you about the first session for the Rogue Trader campaign, because I made it Cowboy Wild West themed
Oh,
in
please.
40K.
I'm all ears. I've been getting sucked into 40K, but I digress. But no, I'm working on stuff. I'm finally found a direction where I want to take my creative input into D&D and tabletops and to do something with that. So I'm excited for the future. And that's actually the first time I could say that confidently.
Hell yeah, bro.
So, without further ado, may we segue to the questions?
Yeah, now that you've answered.
I'm busy now. Actually, after
Right.
too long.
BRB headed to Arby's.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I just found out that the entire planet's on fire. I've got to take shelter in place.
I just gotta poop. No, I'm just kidding.
Swig of water, you asshole. Ow.
Alrighty, so
Ow.
question bearer.
You
Speaking of
okay?
plot twists,
Yeah, you know when you like laugh while drinking and sometimes it goes down the wrong pipe and then you're like burping water out of your lungs?
Yeah, I mean,
Ow. I'm good.
it sounds like a skill issue.
It was simply a krill issue even.
Krill.
Breathe water, bro. Come on.
We grab my potion of water breathing.
Alrighty, so question bearer, would you like to ask the questions, or how would you like to do this?
Sure, I can ask the questions. I can send you the document. I know right now we are on how do you handle big moments like character deaths or plot twists on stream. Also, if you just wanted to have my stream up on the other side, like I will be scrolling through the questions as we get
Cool.
them. But if we're going round the 1, 2, 3, and then on to Fargrim, I think that would be DT, who's got the first how do you handle moments like character deaths and plot twists.
All right, we'll start with him.
All right, ready?
We're ready.
First, I would like to say that I've probably caused a couple too many character deaths. D&D should be a deadly game. But none of the character deaths that I've ever had happen have been unexpected deaths. People see it coming in some way or another. They realize that they have made decisions that have put them here or have taken them away from safety. Skipping rest is the most common thing. So handling character deaths, there are steps to it. They see the decisions they make, and then the dice rolls go against them. And when it finally happens, they understand what's happening. I understand, and then we take a moment. As they die, we try to find ways to give them closure. I have a homebrew mechanism where if they die, they pop up as a spirit and they can heal people and impart memories. And that way they can give something of their character to the other players and have that moment of closure. And it's for everyone that has used it that it has helped them have that just moment where, okay, this character might be gone, but I get to describe something that happened in the past, this memory that I'm leaving someone else. And plot twist. Whew. The biggest plot twist for me are I expect that my party is going to pick one thing and then they pick something entirely different and I'm the one that gets twisted more so than anything. So I'm surprised by their decisions more so than anything. But with character deaths or with plot twists, you roll with it, you lean into it, you make sure that you ask the players what they think, what's going on. You ask them to feed into it more than just handing it to them. And then it just becomes a fun improv moment for everybody involved. And the stream and the game is that much better for all of it, really. The character deaths, the unexpected twist, and all the fun that we have along the way.
Great answer. Azzy. Wait, are you
So
5 and 6?
I would be 5 and 6 would be 3. That's teacup.
Okay, so we'll do teacup then Azzy. Then
Okay.
myself. Teacup.
Alrighty. How do I handle character death? So, when it does come up, the main thing is you don't want it to feel unfair. So, like, if you're gonna stock power word kill on a creature, as an example, and your players don't have a cleric that can bring people back, like, that's kind of mean. Like, you're just killing them for the sake of killing them at that point. Unless there's a specific story reason behind it, or like, if my big bad shows up, you've got this character and all these expectations, and you get power word killed, like, that's gonna suck. Like, the player has no agency at that point, right? So making sure that what is happening makes sense. Now, if you're like, this wizard knows power word kill, don't go and piss him off, and the players run into that fortress and, shit in his shoes, like, sorry, if you give him power word kill, that's kind of on you guys at this point, but they'll see it coming a mile away and they'll know it's because they were being little shits or not cautious or whatever the case may be. But the main thing with that is being cognizant of the emotion at the table. How is this going to react with the player, making sure that they're set up, knowing that it's a possibility, et cetera, et cetera. Something else as well, after they pass away, the moments after, like what D10 said, there's mechanics that you can add to your games that can make that more fun. One of the more fun ones that I had was I was doing a 4-shot, and Logical was in that one with me, who's a friend of some of the people here. And we were playing Daggerheart. So in Daggerheart, you have hope and fear, and the hope is used by the players. And his character passed away, but he still had hope left. And when he passed away, he became a part of this rolling fog that was controlled by this creature called the Ashwood Warden. And I let him use his fog throughout use this mist throughout the rest of the session. Every time he would spend some of that hope that he had before he passed away, it would aid the players in a different way. So it was an interesting way for him to still be a part of the session. He was watching in on it. It was the finale as well. I just didn't want him to sit out for the last hour, and I thought it would be a really good way for him to still be a part of it. Yeah, I did something similar as D10's, a spirit. I have a player who literally has a ghost that lives inside of him. We joke around and call it him going Danny Phantom. And he can see into the ethereal plane. So when his friend died, he saw his friend's spirit. So it did give him the moment for closure, which the player, who's a little shithead, used as an opportunity for more jokes instead, which was totally fine. It meant that he was able to do what he wanted with the character before he left. For plot twists, I just want to make sure that they're fun, that they make sense, that they're not going to come from left field and make, upset people. There's a fine line between what's bad for a player and what's bad for a character. You want to make sure that you're doing, if you're going to throw something at a character, it's not going to negatively impact a player. But that all comes from the beginning. Lines and veils, what are the characters going to expect, etc., etc. So if the plot hook is that their father is suddenly an evil bad guy, and you didn't know that that's a really big deal for this person, or completely observing expectations and stuff like that, check in with your players. Honestly, that's probably the biggest feedback is know your players, check in with them, make sure that as a game master, you're doing what you can to provide a good game. If you want to run something where people are going to die a whole bunch, they need to know that ahead of time. As for players surprising me, I have an improv background. I've run entire sessions with literally no plan outside of maybe this is the ending. That's kind of something, or not kind of something, that's something I am very skilled at, always have been. I still like to do prep and, do all of that stuff, but being able to fly off the seat of my pants definitely helps when they go left when you think they're going to go right. Do some improv classes if you're a DM. It'll help.
Improv classes. Noted. Hell yeah. Azzy?
So, barring one exception, and I'll get into that exception in a second, I, try as I might, have not successfully killed a single player. Ever.
Wow.
Now, I have my theories as to why that is. I, as a game master, and my players know this, I encourage my players to think outside the box. And that means I don't play hard and fast to the rulebook. If they have a creative idea on how they want to use a spell, item, etc., I let them pitch it to me. And most of the time, assuming it's not too out there, I allow it to happen. For example, relatively recently, I had a giant fight that I expected to end with at least one player downed. It was this great big ancient ghost dragon that was statted to the nines. It was terrifying. And then my party tree locked it. When the wizard cast blight on a tree to kill it, failed to push it over. The NPC that was with them succeeded because he was a big, strong dude. And then the sentinel barbarian kept the tree or kept the dragon stuck with the tree inside it, and then they lit the tree on fire. So, you know, um, I happen to have players who are very good at thinking their way out of things and coming up with solutions. That does not mean I have not considered what I would do in the case of a character death, and I have done that. I have some various things that I have had planned that just didn't end up happening, and I can speak on characters leaving more than I can on character death. The one time I did have a character die, I will admit I probably didn't handle it as well as I should have, but I also wasn't certain what the hell else to do. It was one of those situations where I did everything I could in my power as a DM besides saying you're not allowed to do insert thing here. To warn my player, in this case my younger brother, that this was a bad idea. I then gave him second chance after second chance, gave him a whole opportunity to talk his way out of it with a 9mm held to his head. And he ended his grand speech, which could have worked with, "So why don't you just kill me?"
That's an open door. That's an
Um,
invitation.
So I did what the NPC would have done, and I pulled the trigger. And then he was shocked he didn't get death saving throws from a 9mm hollow point through the brain pan. Yeah, yeah, it's the only death I've had. But as far as characters leaving, I've had that happen before. Most of my campaigns, I actually can't remember the last time I ran a campaign that didn't last multiple years. That's just kind of the standard that I'm used to. And over that time, you will always end up with, or often anyway, with scheduling becoming an issue. Someone has to bow out, somebody else comes in. And leaving characters I've handled in a number of ways. One of the characters who, like, I've had characters who it just made sense to them to kind of disappear in the night and nobody really knew what happened to them. And I've done that a couple times. But we had one character in particular who was played by a very prominent community member at the time, still one of the best guys I've ever known. I talk to him whenever I can, though his life has gotten so busy I don't do so very often. He was leaving, and everyone in the group was very upset about it. And so I handled it not unlike I would handle a funeral in game, which is I made sure to pick the right emotional music. I made sure to frame the situation in a way that felt poignant, and I let the players get a chance to say goodbye, which is exactly what I've had planned the number of times I've thought I was going to have a funeral and then the players waltzed through whatever it was I prepared. Um, as far as plot twists, I probably handle this differently than most game masters. So number one, I'm very, very, very used to players figuring out the plot twist before they get to the plot twist. Because of this, I have stopped trying to outsmart the players per se, and what I have moved to is a system of selective information giving. And what I mean by that is I single out the players that I think will be affected most by various bits of information about what is going to come. And I will give those individual players tailor made spoilers so they know specific things. And I know I can trust them not to tell everyone else. So I give everyone a different piece of the puzzle that will scare them the most. And I use that to build tension.
Nice.
I actually realized something that we didn't talk about that I think is also a useful tool, and we were talking about it before we went live. There are ways for people to die and come back that you can also build into your campaigns as well. So, like, I've had it before where it's like a character fell off of a tower, got pushed, it was their last HP, they died laying on the ground, right? And then the players ended up like I ended up purposefully TPKing the entire party as a story beat for them to go to their next location, which was Hell, which is where their next mission was. It made sense all in the context of the campaign, but when they had that moment where they appeared in this great dining hall and the player that had just died was sitting there at the table eating a giant horse leg, like they were tabaxi, it makes sense. That for them was a really a really cool way for them to be like, oh, okay, my character's not dead, and they were sitting in that at the table for a little bit. Or the one I was telling you guys about before was they were in an adventuring academy and they had a druidic teacher who knew reincarnate. So if anybody ever went through a player death in that campaign, as long as their body was retrieved, they were able to be reincarnated. It meant
Yeah.
that their species would change, and I had a homebrew species table wrapped around this teacher, so that way it would be a little bit more fun and chaotic. But it was a way to both keep stakes while also lowering stakes. Yeah,
That's
so
the thing with D&D in particular. There's so many ways to mitigate death.
yeah,
Like it gets to a point where I had a character that was down, and I knew that character could be brought back up, and they ended up being so. But I ended up just going to the players like, "Hey, do you want to be saved, or would you rather me write this as a death?"
yep. I'd say
I
just don't keep it a freebie. Make it have a consequence. If you go unconscious in Daggerheart, there's a chance you could get a scar. Throw something like
Mhm.
that into D&D.
I do. I have a critical injury system where every time you're downed, you come back with a critical injury, and some of those are quite gnarly.
You know. I don't use it yet in any games, but I do like the idea of like, okay, you just came back from being unconscious, you have a level of exhaustion now. Or a really cool one where I was a player and someone else was the DM. The player got killed outright, and there happened to be not happened. It was part of the story, but there was a scientist in the next room who was evil, who brought her back by giving her a mechanical heart. However, the heart was heavier than she was used to. She was a fairy, and she lost 10 feet off her fly speed. So it's like a nifty little way to acknowledge what's happened while still allowing that player to continue on the adventure. Again, depends on your players and what they're comfortable with and what you as a DM want from the campaign. But I thought that we didn't touch on the one thing, cheesing the death.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. To go back to the critical injuries table, just because we were on the topic, the things that you can have on my custom table, you've got major eye trauma, major ear trauma, severe arm and leg injuries, concussions, limps, bruised ribs, got your bell rung, broken nose, and deep gash. So sometimes it's not a big deal. Other times you're going to need to seek pretty much immediate medical attention or need greater restoration to resolve the problem. But yeah, Bargrim, how do you deal with
Um.
shooting your players in the head?
Oh, was smiling and laughing as they're like, "What the fuck?" Uh,
We're talking about D&D, Fargrim.
I knew
that
that joke
too.
was coming.
That too.
You
Um.
wild shit.
No. The first time I DM'd 5e, I TPK'd people for not understanding the on-challenge trading. In my last
Oh no!
true story,
Release the Tarrasque.
No, it was
What?
Driders in the basement.
In a basement? Oh.
Why is that
Like when we
worse?
got locked in a room with Cloud Kill.
It was one of those
That's
Granny needs you to clear out the basement, and there was a spider in her well. A Drider in her
Wait,
well.
you picked Drider for that? Yo!
that's just a
Anyways.
guy. Just
That
There's
was-
a spider in my well. Spider, that man,
Hey.
that's a person.
I'm a spider. Nice to meet you. My name's Widow.
Right.
Come over here and give me a kiss. Don't mind my
Maybe widower.
thorax.
But I digress. My most recent campaign, no one died. There was someone who left the entire community. What we did with their character was they just disappeared because we didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with it. But my example of one of my players wanting to die, you should always respect your players' wishes. Customer's always right, type of thing. I didn't want to see
Matters
them.
of taste.
What?
The full saying is the customer is always right in matters of taste,
Right.
which this would be, but that is an important distinction. Just because your player wants to have the big bad evil sword of kills everything doesn't mean they're right, and you should give it to them.
No, absolutely not. But I meant in the situation of their character's overall future outcome and fate. If they want to die, you should let them die.
Agreed.
However, it was my mistake to persuade this player to live because I knew I was going to be only having at least 2 players, if not 3 players at the very end of the campaign. So I was just like, man, just stick it out. Just to have the four amigos. But I gave that character a terminal illness that reflected both their backstory and, well, to describe this character, they were playing a star-born druid, whatever the hell. Do you know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah, the
star
circle of
druids?
stars.
Yeah, they're really cool, by the
Okay.
way. That combo with a celestial warlock.
Ooh.
Okay.
And
Ah.
their backstory was that they were a cosmic being as one of the stars that people could be born under. So this is a reincarnated celestial being that is now dying of star sickness because they need to return. They
Cool.
returned. They need to return back to the stars. So I had in the epilogue, I had their character die from the increasedness of this disease, but I still am kicking myself for not respecting their wishes, for having them die. Then I was going to give the party a buff to deal with the rest of. Thank you. To deal with the rest of the big bad evil guys, because I had multiple in that campaign. But yeah. As for plot twists, you got to plant certain seeds or certain breadcrumbs, and sometimes it's cool to lead them astray, just so you can build something even better.
All those coasters, and you're gonna use a good napkin for a coaster.
That's something that I've learned, especially when I've been doing the Cloak and Dagger one, where the group that actually finished my campaign was actually started off as detectives, and they worked their way up to being Imperial guards, or I'm sorry, Imperial generals of a island. So yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the super easy way where, you know, you talk with your player, you know, the schedule's not going to work out for the long term. They tell you they're going to take another 2 or 3 sessions, and you go, you want me to kill you at the end of it?
Mhm.
Like, is that what you see as the ending for this character? And sometimes they say, yeah, which is cool. Like, they don't mind getting the peek behind the DM curtain once in a while. So like even with plot twists, sometimes it's fun to do that shit with your player. Like I set up a one shot that was set up. Everybody was playing a halfling. They were all Santa's elves, and then one person was playing Mrs. Claus. And the stat block for Mrs. Claus was actually I don't remember. It was one of the ice hag, Brewhair hag, I think it is something like that. The real Mrs. Claus was tied up in a cave, very Grinch-like cave at the top of a mountain outside of Santa's workshop. But the player was playing Mrs. Claus in disguise the entire time. And it was really fun reveal when eventually their character was able to show that they were actually evil the whole time and actually a hag, and got to do all the role playing and stuff for that. And then eventually they found the real character, and like they didn't mind getting taken out of the session earlier by the players before they fought. It was against Jack Frost. Something. It was a holiday
So
one shot.
before we move on to the next question, since Fargrim's not here and you've just reminded me, that is the number one thing I had never I had totally forgotten about my Christmas one shot, which is actually leading into a second one. So I had a
Okay.
friend who I knew had a specific character. This was during my illegal D&D game. The only time I've ever had the privilege of running an illegal D&D game.
Are you saying
This
illegal or legal?
illegal.
Why was it illegal?
What's an illegal
Um,
D&D game?
I want to
it's
run
where
one.
it's where you where the government says you're not allowed to run a D&D game and you do it anyway because it's Christmas. This was during
When's
this was
The
during
government was the
all
Oh,
of us
BBEG the whole
all of
time.
us were fine, all of us were clean. It was during COVID. My friend in question that I'm about to get into, the one who had this character, was actually a police officer. So we had a police officer sitting at this illegal D&D table. It was very amusing.
bro,
But
you're literally you've got a cop, people who are gathering who shouldn't be, who are all clean. It sounds like you had an orgy. I'm just
he has a character who has popped up in a number of campaigns named Jim Gladstone. And
like it.
this character is a huckster by trade. This is a character who has many stories and legends about him, like the one time he conned a king out of an entire fleet. So I had this brilliant idea for a holiday one shot. What if I had his character be the employer? And his character was going to hire the party to go retake his ancestral fortress. Except it wasn't an ancestral fortress. It was Santa's workshop. And he was very upset that he had gotten a lump of coal at some point in his childhood, and this was vengeance for him. And I played this one very, very close to the vest. My players did not know what was happening, and I did this by leaning not into necessarily the Santa motif, but more into some of the Norse traditions, because I myself am Norse pagan. So I had the exterior guardians of this thing be straw goat statues. When they went into the workshop portion, they were fighting like regular D&D elves in green suits. It wasn't until they started tearing open boxes that the wheels started turning and the players started realizing, oh no, are we the bad guys? They then proceeded to chemical warfare themselves by lighting the peppermint wallpaper on fire had to flee the castle, ended up fighting with Santa at the very end. Jim got away, and when I have the opportunity, hopefully this year, I will be running, hopefully on stream, the Hunt for Jim Gladstone as a follow-on holiday one-shot, as the players have very much wanted to hunt this bastard down ever since.
I love that. That's so much fun. Oh man, making the characters the bad guys by accident, moral quandary, so good.
Especially when another player is in on it and he's the one hiring them to be evil.
That's so fun. Oh man. I mean, the
But yeah,
simplest one is, player dies in the presence where some sort of godly being would be nearby, and you could be like, "Hey, you want to come back with a level warlock?" Like,
I've definitely had that kind of thing happen before.
but you gotta throw a twist on it. You gotta give them some sort of like secret or something along with
yeah,
it.
I attempted to play a character that was very into power with just on a day related to the Fae. I had a piece of paper put in front of him. Do you want power? Check yes or no. He checked yes.
Fantastic. Oh man, my brother died in a temple worshiping a old stone snake god, and when he died, he met with the god, and the god told him that he wants what he wants to have happen as the future of the world, and he'll bring him back as long as he completes that task for him, and the player thinks that the task is going to be helpful and is what the group is trying to do anyway, but doesn't realize that it's actually just going to fuck the entire world up and destroy it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That leans pretty well into the next question, I think, which is how do you weave lore and backstories into your sessions to make them immersive?
Oh.
Who's first on the roster for this one, Fargrim?
Looks like Teacup again.
Sick. Lore and backstory. Sorry, can you repeat the question for me?
How do you weave lore or backstory into your sessions to make them immersive?
All right. Much better at backstory than lore. I do build lore, but I much prefer dealing with the players' intricacies and stuff that they've handed me and exploring that. I think it depends on if it's homebrew or not. Straight up, like if it's homebrew, it's so much easier to okay, well these NPCs are tied to you. Like I can design specific relationships around that. Yeah, when you're doing something that's because I run a mix of stuff. When you're doing something that's outside of that, it becomes a little bit more tough to integrate it, and you got to essentially homebrew reasons why. There are some DMs I know that do try and avoid that sort of look like at backstory because they're worried about things like schedule and stuff taking over. I don't mind. I would rather have the memories of with the characters than not.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest example of how I deal with lore, Oops Only, the one I do that's a series of one-shots. The very, 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 very first episode was about barbarians. They were around the equator. There was dinosaurs, and this orc person who was an evoker wizard, a prehistoric wizard, discovered a way to channel the powers of the god of the sun to summon a meteorite. In defeating him, the no meteorite slammed to the earth. Dinosaurs are still alive. That entire region was allowed to grow and flourish.
I got a pterodactyl.
Yeah. In the next session, which was, I think it was like 500 years later, at that point, barbarians became our lore. So, what was the consequences of what happened? Well, the sun god's power was siphoned and he was defeated. So, slowly over the next 500 years, the sun's power has been dying and weaning out. And in the Arctic, which is where the next session was taking place, those players noticed that the days were growing progressively shorter, and they were going to be faced with an eternal night if they didn't figure out how to restore the sun god's power. Which they did, but in doing so, they also used a magic bean, which summoned a pyramid. Which, if you know magic beans and pyramids, you know there's a mummy lord in the side, which is an undead creature. So fast forward to the
Yes,
north.
that age-old myth.
Fast forward to thousands of years later, where they're in this city that's surrounded with pyramid-like structures that have been all grown and developed by the three keen that live in the area, acting like worker ants. Where somebody breaks into that original pyramid and accidentally unleashes an undead curse on the region. So, essentially, what I was doing in this was the consequences of what happened before, taking them and using them to influence what happens next. When you're doing that in a shorter campaign, that can get a little more difficult because it's less grand. But you could still have the here's what the players have done, how they interacted with this NPC, how is that going to play out in the future? It's still lore, but it's less tied to it. I think keeping it tied to the players is important. The players' actions, the players' conflict, what has affected it. I kind of talked a lot. I don't know if I answered the question effectively.
I think you did. Azzy, do you mind answering last since you read the question?
Answering last, sure.
Cool. I'll answer next, then we can go with Dragon. So I love weaving my character's backstory into my world, just so I can give it that extra breath of air. I've had the same player visit their parents in the campaign. I've had um, smaller villains being tied to characters' backstories, like slavers. That had, well, in my first campaign, I had a slaver connect two characters together in their backstories as different parts of their life that did different things to them. Um, that always brings another dimension to your game. Uh, how do you weave lore? Um, let's say if a character is curious about something or aspires to be like, let's say, a swordsman or um, uh, is looking for like a next item or next thing to define their multi-class or something, then I will give them a quest or something that fits their character. Some sort of like good old World of Warcraft class missions back in the day to help them find out, well, to help them uh, flesh out their character throughout this ordeal, and if they are lucky enough, they'll get an item to fit their build. But I try to make it immersive as possible when I'm describing scenes or uh, emphasizing emotions, even if I have to do things with my voice to create immersion. But yeah, that's what I do.
DTE, you're next, yeah?
Yes. So first things first, kind of as Teacup said, it's harder to weave in smaller stories. It's easy to put backstories in lore in on like large, expansive stories. If you're doing like a one shot, unless it's specifically focused around a character story, it's hard to fit it in. Same thing potentially with a dungeon crawl. If you have a large dungeon crawl, it might be harder. But if you have a world that is expansive and the stakes of your campaign are high and they expand out to parts of the world, it's easy to take players' backstories and find spots to put them in, whether it's a letter from a family member when they don't expect it. Somebody gets sent an item from off screen. There's news that come in. I for the Shattered Obelisk campaign, I had one time travel episode where we took our tiefling sorcerer back to the first family member in her line to receive power from a green dragon. The Goliath barbarian was transported to his ancestral chief at some point, and they got to meet, and he got to meet with the chieftains, the ancient chieftains of his people. One character came in with backstories ready and character sheets written up for her family members who I got to play for a little bit as they became prominent in the story, and they found ways to come in and interact and help the party because they knew that option was there. They found ways to pull their backstory in, which was great because they felt comfortable bringing in their backstory and adding that as a large part of the flavor to the game. As for lore, I largely run lore as I understand it in the Forgotten Realms, like the official lore, what's happening on the Sword Coast, how Drow act, what their structures are. All of that I try to run as close as possible, which allows the players to use their knowledge, and I don't have to feed them a lot. They already know what's going on in that world. Like if they see a drow, they have assumptions about a drow. And they've had a few interactions, and we'll have a few more interactions as long as the campaign continues on. Um, Ancient Green Dragon, there's there's Green Dragon lore that weaves in with that. It's running the lore that they can easily look up and that they have familiarity with too. It helps them have a foothold in the world that doesn't rely on me feeding them various bits of information. And since we just did a huge, expansive Save the World arc, there were plenty of opportunities to bring in their backstories. The Monday campaign, the Acquisitions Incorporated campaign that we're running, after we establish the base in the first arc, the next arc will be entirely focused on their backstories. I had them put down goals, I send them questions, and then I'm going to find ways to center the larger story around their stories. Oh, I have a player in the... Hi! Hi, Orpid. Forget you've heard anything. You know nothing of your backstory. One of my players
I
is
have
in the chat.
players in the chat as well.
Yeah.
That's
so,
fine. It's not a secret that we're going to eliminate Luthik from the pantheon of gods, so that's really part two.
What?
I think this is a fantastic moment to just give a shout out to the players themselves, because at least from what I've gathered from all
Yes.
of you, we're all blessed to have incredibly good players who won't metagame,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives us so many more opportunities as dungeon masters to have conversations with our players and to allow them more influence into our games where we otherwise might not be able to, because we have to keep things secret. And
Yes.
I've said this before, and I will never stop shouting it from the rooftops. In my opinion, I have the best players that any DM could ask for, and everything that I have built as a dungeon master, as a streamer, I would never have been able to do without them.
Yes. Big shout out
But
to all the players who are in chat and not in chat. Thank you
Us
guys.
players make it
that's
possible.
that's just not
Yes.
possible, guys, because I have the best players that I've ever. No, just
I
kidding.
know. I was trying to figure out how we actually figure that out, and I don't know if it's rock, paper, scissors or what it is.
No, fight to the
I
death.
think we just settle for we're all incredibly lucky, and there's no understating that fact.
Yes.
Fine.
Good players are hard to come by, honestly. When you have
Yes.
players that you click with, that's a good time. It gives you something to look forward to, a group of people that you can just give your heart to and this large portion of your brain that you dedicate to them.
And what's better still is when that particular group of players are the type of people who will help you whenever you have a new player who's not part of the core group. They will go out of their way to help include that player, to help bring them into the group, induct them, and show them the ropes. It's You just breed this community that just continues to grow, and you end up in this weird situation where you're constantly having more players than you really even know how to manage or have time to run games for.
Yeah.
Which is why it was so great for me that I have somebody who stepped up and decided he wanted to run a campaign out of being my player. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt or cut off. That was a moment I felt we really should acknowledge the players.
100%.
I'm good on mine. I know that my players are now out there conspiring against me in the
Conspiring
best
against you.
possible way.
We have a 4-part question, or 4 separate questions, but we could probably just knock them all out of the park by Phoenix. Phoenix is my professional D&D voyeur. They come
Go
over to my
on.
place and watch me play Daggerheart every Monday, but they come just for the vibes.
Then how I would propose
I
to do
bet they
this then
do.
is I will answer the questions currently on the board, then I will answer all of Phoenix's questions, and then we'll pass Phoenix's questions around the table.
All right, sounds good.
That work for you, Fargrim? Fargrim?
Yes. That's
Okay,
awesome.
that works for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the question on the board, which is how do you weave lore or backstories into your sessions to make them immersive? For me, that is a very important part of how I dungeon master. So first and foremost, I will talk from 2 different angles, and I'll get into it from each angle because they're very different. One is my homebrew world of Amberhale, where I have working on a third-party source book that's been my biggest project I've ever undertaken in my entire life, and I have a lot of in-depth lore about that world. And the other is going to be the 40K campaign, which is a great example of how I do it when there is pre-established world lore that I'm drawing off of. So in the case of Amberhale, one of the things that I find incredibly important is to start from a basis of helping the players tie their backstory into the world itself. And anytime I have a new player who is not familiar with Amberhale, I will do what I call the Amberhale tour, where I will run them through the brief overview of each and every one of the major powers and players in the world. And from there, we can get an idea of which fits best with their ideas. And we'll drill down further and further. I will answer all of their questions and help them find their spot in the world because I want them to feel invested in the plane of existence they find themselves on. Beyond that, I will regularly pull in character backstory wherever possible. So this is something that I learned, and I don't do it every campaign, but I do it wherever I can. It's something I actually learned from Logical, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here tonight. But he likes to do grand character arcs where each character is going to get their own arc in the story. Well, I don't do that per se. I do it on a micro scale where I will look at the characters, I'll look at their backstory, and I'll go, how can I either twist the knife or hand them a gem? Based on the current situation, I always want to either be giving players something or twisting a knife so that they feel compelled in some way, either through the pain of their character or their backstory or their motivations to see the world be better. I love to give them that. And when I control the world, which I do for Amberhale, obviously, at least until it makes it out to the mass public, in which case, you bet your ass I'm going to be reading up on whatever lore people have made and deciding which of that shit I like, and I'm going to be taking it. Because I love the idea of collaborative world building. Um, but it's a lot harder when you're doing something like a pre-established world setting. Um, and that's the thing. To one last thing on the homebrew side with the collaborative world building, anytime a player wants to have control over their home, their town, their village, wherever it is they're from, I will always give them that opportunity because there's so in a massive world there's so many different towns, cities, etc. And as a game master to expect to have fleshed every single one of those out is horribly unrealistic. And if you have bruh, teach me your powers of time dilation because yeah, how? Um, and so I will always give the players the opportunity if they want to. Like I have a character who's a noble in my current campaign. He told me what he wanted his backstory was. I told him there's already a perfect city for him to go with, and I let him write the entire noble family that runs that city because those are his family. And now going forward, I know who runs that city because it's his family. Um, but on to the when you have a
Right.
pre-established lore. Yeah, go for it.
Super quick. This is not D&D related, but it does tie in a lot with what you guys are talking about. So I have a theater degree, and it's specifically in something called devised theater,
Mhm.
which ties in with the fact that I do a lot of improv and improvisation, and I still even do performances and stuff. One of the biggest rules in improv is, and I don't remember exactly how to word this, but it's essentially if you start with nothing, it's harder. But if you start with
Mhm.
pre-written rules, it becomes a lot easier. What
Yes.
we're essentially all describing is our players are giving us light pre-written rules for us to play within, which makes our jobs as a DM easier. Essentially, collaboration makes the job easier. If a player wants to play a noble, cool. That means that I have to then, as a DM, design stuff around a noble character, which comes with, the family. And if he makes a family and he's got a mom, a dad, and 16 brothers, well, that gives me stuff to play with around that.
Yes.
That makes it a hell of a lot easier for us to build lore and decide what'll happen next. And specifically, like in my sessions, when we have to fly by the seat of our pants, we already have something pre-existing there. Even if it's just a simple map with a little note on it and a city that's called Ember Dale, like, cool, okay, Why did
Yeah.
we call it that? It's on a volcano. Okay, but we're already playing in little bits of rules. And one player, you ask them, like, you have anything to do with this city? And they're like, yeah, they have ritualistic sacrifices once a year. And you just go because you've started with, like, a rule. In case you wondered how
And
improv works, it's all rules.
And before I move into the having a pre-established, I think something to build off that, a example of what I do when I have the reverse, which is I have a player who plays at a lot of my tables. She's a good friend. Her name's Raven, and she hates writing backstories. It's like her least favorite thing about D&D. She loves role playing. She likes writing characters, personalities, being the character. She loves the game, but she hates writing backstories. And so one of her first characters she ever played under me, that character's name was Feyre. The only details that I had to work with was that she was an orphan, and she had a locket that was the only thing she had of her parents. And I took that, and what I did was I waited for an opportunity. I waited for a plot beat that I felt needed to be tied more closely, more directly to the party. And when I had that beat, I tied it to her locket. And I roped her into this bloodline, this ancient bloodline of frost elves, who are this group of people who most people in my world only think of as legend. Um, and I gave her an in, something to play with. And the second I gave her that thing, she took it and she ran. And so, even in those situations where you don't have a lot to work with, sometimes it's a matter of latching onto the one or two tiny things you do have and then giving your players something to run with. But going into the 40K campaign, which is where I have a very vast established world that I don't really get to control, because this is a world that has pages upon pages of lore, novel after novel, book series after book series. And I still think it's authentic to be, or it's important to be authentic to the source material. And it's important to tie the players into the campaign, into the world. So while we didn't necessarily have time off the rip to get every single person's backstory giga hammered out because of how hectic scheduling had been, I have been going out of my way to get with each individual player on a one-on-one basis. And I have been working to get more information on who they've fought, what they've seen, where they've been. And from there, that gives me the opportunity to start to thread in plot points for each player. For example, one of the players who most wanted to get into 40K, but he didn't even know where to start because there's so much lore, my boy Kudu, I got with him. He was playing a guardsman. I got with him and I figured out who he's fought against. One of the main ones he's fought against are orcs. So down the road, I have an orc arc planned where I'm going to feed him pieces of information on orc biology, places and areas where his character can feel more powerful, more useful, because he knows things that other people might not. He knows how to handle the situation. He knows the leadership structure of this alien species. And when you have that expansive world, it's just important to look at your source material and figure out how to help your players, give your players the tools they need to be rooted in the world. And when they come to you with an outlandish idea like, hey, I want to play this character who is from 10,000 years ago, you don't just immediately say no. You go, okay, what's your what's your pitch? And then you work with them and you tie it all together as best you can, and you constantly give people these opportunities for their character to shine within the context and the greater context of the world, because that will make them feel invested. That will root them in the world, even if they don't necessarily know a lot about it. And unfortunately, sometimes it is a matter of you have to feed them specific information that their character would know. The number of times I have said, your character would know X is very high, but by giving them that, by giving them these opportunities to interact with knowledge that they as players might not have, but you know their characters would, it really gives more depth to the game for your players. And I think that's very important. Something I have also started doing that goes into all of this with the 40K campaign specifically, I've started doing solo sessions or 2-on-1 sessions, or however it is, however many people, because in 40K I have this great opportunity where they have a lot of time on this spaceship because they're traveling from point A to point B across the galaxy. And so I will take that in between time where there's not a lot going on, and instead of making it, oh, this trip was boring, I'll single out 1 or 2 people and I'll go, hey, we're running a session for just you guys on an off day. What day works for you? And I will use that to help them explore the in depth their character more and get deeper and deeper into it. For example, my player Doug by Daylight is next on the roster, and his character was a Imperial Knight pilot who lost a battle. His knight was destroyed. He committed hack heresy, kind of, and downloaded all of the minds of the past pilots into his brain to preserve them. And that's something you don't do. And so his next session, the one that's just going to be him, he's going to be back in the forest on his home planet. He's going to be fighting the monsters in the forest. And through that, bit by bit, through every death, through every failure, through every different version of himself he has to play through this on, he will slowly start to get foretold the next enemy that the party is going to be facing. And I think that wraps my how do you weave lore and backstory into your sessions and make them immersive. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded. That one's one of my passion topics.
One of my players just brought up a good point. Backstories aren't just for before the campaign. Their backstory expands out as they play, and they discover who they are as they go. So they might his character had no siblings by the end, or by at the start, and by the end we're living in the sister's house, and his father had sired many people along the way, and the character grows. The character grows as the game goes.
Yeah. I think it's very important to anytime you're like, I've had this happen a number of times. A player gave me a very narrow backstory, and my players know they're allowed to do this. They'll just add bits to their backstory mid session because they think it's a great place to tie their character in. And they'll just speak something as fact, like, hey, this was a thing about my character. And I, as a DM, didn't know that because they didn't know that until that moment. But I roll with it and I weave it in and I keep it going because that kind of depth is phenomenal. Are we ready to go into Phoenix's questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So give me 1 second. I'm actually going to put them up on the screen. They're a little bit smaller than the others. Just give me a second to bump
We
that
got some
font
great
size.
questions this evening. Thank you, Phoenix.
All right, there we go. So number 1, as a DM, how do you work around players, especially new players, to unintentional metagaming with role playing what their characters would and would not know? Okay, so for that first question for me anyway, I generally speaking don't have that problem, but on the rare occasions that I do, I will basically do the voice equivalent of putting a hand on their shoulder and just going, that's meta knowledge. That's something you as a player know. That's not something your character would know at this point in time. Here's what your player character logically would know, and here's why. I will just simply sit them down and explain that to them, even midstream, because I have no issues with new players in my streams. I have no issues with teaching people how to play the game, getting them into the hobby, and I also have no issue portraying that on the stream because they should know how things work, and it's important for the viewers to understand that not everyone's Matt Mercer, not everyone's Matt Mercer's group. There are new players. Everyone starts somewhere, and being open and accepting and showing what that learning process looks like on stream when it happens to come up like it would at a regular table, I think that's important. Number 2, what are some spells that you think have been poorly written that you always have to rethink how they work in your campaign? I have a phenomenal answer to that question. Boy, howdy. There is one spell that comes to mind, and we've actually been working on reworking the spell itself, which is the 2014 True Strike. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the 2014 True Strike problem,
Yeah.
in
It's
2014
dumb.
True Strike, there's no point to the spell whatsoever. because what it does is you take a turn, and instead of making an attack, you then get advantage on the next attack, which equates to the same number of dice rolled, but less maximum damage output. So to fix this problem, I have actually been toying with a couple of rewrites of True Strike, which I will actually share right now. There are two different reworks that I have on the board. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with, but I know that one of them is going to make it into my campaign full stop. And every campaign after. So the reworks are as follows: True Strike, casting time bonus action, range touch, component somatic, concentration up to 1 round. You touch one willing target, this can be yourself, until the end of the next turn. The target gains advantage on its next attack roll as your magic grants them insight into the enemy's defenses. This spell ends early if concentration is lost or the advantage is used. What this allows for is for the caster to see into the enemy's defenses and impart advantage on a teammate's attack who might be better for the situation. And if they want to do it for themselves, they can still do it for themselves. It was only a bonus action. They can still make that attack with advantage. The second version that I had um, is it's kind of an inverse of the True Strike, where you touch the enemy. So bonus action still, so that you can still use it, and attack. Touch, somatic, concentration up to 1 round. You touch one target until the end of your next turn. The next attack roll you make against the target is made at advantage, as your magic grants you insights into the enemy's defenses. So what that allows for is that kind of moment in, I guess, anime really is what I was thinking of, where they touch the opponent and they can feel through the opponent their defenses, their holes. That version, it also has a starting at 5th level, you gain the ability to project this knowledge outward to your allies until your next turn. The next attack roll made by you or an allied creature within 30 feet of you is made at advantage.
Maybe
So for
referring
me,
to their weaknesses as holes, and they reach out to touch them. Probably not. the
You know,
best.
it was a good phrasing. It was good phrasing. Keep the phrasing. Reach out and touch their holes.
You know what? No,
Oh,
no
Internet is
change
with you.
whatsoever, except in the wording of True Strike. You need to add, you reach out and touch the enemy's hole. You now know their weakness.
all right, moving on. Question
100%.
3. What are your homebrew rules that you always work with? Stuff like, do you roll death saves behind the screen? So for me, I have one homebrew rule that I always roll with, and then the rest of them are very dependent on game system. And the one homebrew rule that I always roll with, I guess there's two. One we've already touched on earlier in this series is the Vegas rule, which is what happens in character stays in character. It's a hard and fast rule at my table. You do not hold character actions against players. You are not your character. This is not personal. This is a game. We're telling a story, and you are not playing as you. The other one is that I don't hold hard and fast to the rulebook. If I think it is more interesting to do something in a creative fashion, I will, generally speaking, allow it to be done that way. Now, as far as homebrew rules for things like D&D, as I said, I am writing in my own whole source book. I have a pile of them that I couldn't even begin to get into all of them right now, from homebrew weather systems to homebrew classes to the way I handle my whole rule system I call the harsh realities rule system that I've been working on. And yeah, I have a lot. And then 4, what is your opinion on Counterspell and Silvery Barbs? I mean, they're spells. They do what they say. I think there's lots of interesting ways to use them. I think they're good tools for the players to have access to. And I also think that any spell that a player has, a enemy can also have. So occasionally I will, when it makes sense, I'll have a wizard with Counterspell, a warlock with Silvery Barbs. I don't tend to use those as often on my NPCs as my players use them, because I prefer to make my fights interesting in other ways. But I absolutely have no problem with doing so when I need to.
All right, who's next?
D10.
That's
Dragon
me.
Tongue. Yeah, that's
That's
a
me. I'm
me.
next. It's a me.
Mario!
Dragon Tongue. I have toys by my hand. Countless will appear on stream before the end of the night, and I apologize. I have no self-control.
You're fine.
The difference
as a-
between an adult and a child is how much responsibility they take. Nothing more, nothing less.
Responsibility.
don't take those. Avoid those at all costs, please. Take my advice. As a DM, how do you work around players, especially new players, to unintentional metagaming? Um, I tell my players, I've told my players that one, don't try to break the game. Ask yourself seriously what your characters would know versus what you know, and act appropriately. If something is like really off, I might say something. But I've also told them that I am under no responsibility to correct incorrect metagaming information. So if they make an assumption and they try to act on it and it's wrong, or there's something different in this world that doesn't quite fit the normal, they're at a detriment because of what they think they know.
Hmm.
And I'm fine with that. If they think they know how to kill a troll and it doesn't work on this troll or there's something off, the encounter's more deadly because of it. And I'm fine letting them do that. Let's see. What are some of the spells you think? I don't read spells a lot beforehand. Um, I have read a lot of spells, and there are some that I disagree with, or that I think could be worded better. 5.5 is fairly overly forgiving in some of the things that it does. Like I'm not a fan of the counter spell that exists in 5.5 for several reasons. Like, but um, I run between 2 and 3 campaigns. When a question comes up about a spell, I'm normally reading it in that moment, and we're
You and me
discussing.
both, brother.
Yeah, okay, and we read it out. Okay, it means this. It doesn't mean that. And sometimes it's just, what do you think the spell means? What would you like the spell to do? And there's no perfect spell. It's rollings in the moment. There's what's best for the story in the moment. Sometimes sometimes you ignore a part of a spell because it plays out better, and sometimes you lean into it. There's
I,
probably a lot of spells that aren't greatly written.
if I may say something on that exact point,
Yeah, go ahead.
um, something that I think a lot of people tend to forget is that at the end of the day, the people who are playing in these games have a tendency to be gamers. And because of that, the gamer mentality is always going to be hardwired to try to figure out where the loopholes are, where things work, where things don't work. So you're going to, over your course as a career as of DM, get a lot of questions where it's very, very painstakingly meticulous. Can this spell says this? Can this spell do this based on that, or can it not? And in those moments, you have the choice of, are you going to go by the book, or are you going to try to go by the intention? And you have to learn as a DM to kind of read between the lines, figure out both what the original written intention of the spell was and what you're okay with happening at your table.
I will usually let like people alter a spell lightly if they do an Arcana check. Like I've definitely had like Druidcraft act like a gust of wind before, like things like that that make it so that way they can kind of alter it. Not enough to be
I like
broken
the
though.
Arcana check. I would
Yeah.
argue, though, if you're doing like Druidcraft, it might be better as a nature check, but I like the principle because it's applying the character's magical knowledge to their ability to change and shape the magic they wield.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That specific situation, it was when I was doing Oops Only Commoners, so they didn't have much else they could use.
Valid.
But yeah, I can see like switching it up for Wisdom instead for a Druid or a Ranger would make sense for them to have more of a likelihood of actually hitting it. That's a good point.
All right. Question number 3. Question number 3. Homebrew rules. I spoke about one earlier with death. Death, they get to be a spirit that heals their party and gives part of their memories to the players, and they get to keep that spirit until they're ready to either create a new character or try to find a way to bring that other character back. We use maps a lot, so for squares, for 5-foot squares, we allow 1.5 people per square. That way you can have 3 people occupying 2 squares, and it's not blocking people out. More people can get up to the front of the action. One more that we use, you can cast more than one spell per turn if it has a bonus action tag, but you can only upcast one spell instead of
Ooh, I like that a lot.
the spell and cantrip. It's you can use 2 spells, but you can only upcast one, which I think works well for the players. And
I
God,
might start doing that actually. That's really good.
there are I'm sure there are more. There's one that I've tried to implement before that I like. It involves passive scores. Instead of a passive score automatically letting you succeed, if a passive score hits the DC of something, you know something is wrong and you get a free roll for it. Unless your passive score is by 5, exceeds it by 5, then you know. But it goes as like something subconsciously wrong, and you have a chance to look for it. Because I like that better than just you see all the traps in the room, or you see this or that. I like giving people the opportunity to roll for something to see it, rather than just giving it to them. The more rolls, the better. And I already spoke about counterspell. um, I don't know if you're talking 2014 or 5.5. I don't like that counterspell doesn't potentially cost a slot if the other person succeeds on it. I like the idea of there being a price to pay for failure. I like the idea. I think it's a con save now, or is it a? It's one of those spells I always have to look up when it comes up. I In my mind, it would have always worked better as a spell casting contest between the casters with the DC that depends on who's trying to counterspell what. But I've never come across silvery barbs in the wild. None of my players have ever taken it.
Oh, I have a player who runs it constantly. She loved that spell.
But I mean, they're there. I would run them as written. They're in the spell book. Players can take it. I can take it. So I mean, they're there. They all get their use, except for silvery barbs, which again I've never seen it in the wild. Okay, that's what I have. Who's next on our list?
I think I am. All right, so oh, you got an ad. I'll answer the fourth question first. I've never heard of silvery barbs, but counterspell has been a solid cock punch as a DM for me. I'm like, ooh, fireball! Uh, All my players are together, and always fails. They're just like, oh, you can counterspell that, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. I mean, oh no, my plans.
So, for your context, Fargrim, Silvery Barb's first level enchantment spell, casting time 1 reaction, which you take when a creature you can see within 60 feet of yourself succeeds on an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw. Range 60 feet, verbal duration instantaneous. You magically distract the triggering creature and turn its momentary uncertainty into encouragement for another creature. The triggering creature must re-roll the d20 and use the lower roll. You can then choose a different creature that you can see within range. You can choose yourself. The chosen creature has advantage on the next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw it makes within 1 minute. A creature can be empowered by only one use of this spell at a time.
What level
So
is the
for
spell?
level 1.
First,
Why?
it's a really good spell.
How am I the
It
first
depends on
time
which side
hearing
of it
about
you're on.
this?
It's a lot. It's from secondary material, so a lot of players. I think
It's from
Strixhaven.
Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos.
Okay,
So a lot of
It's on
DMs
Bard,
ban it.
Sorcerer, and Wizard spell list.
I
very
don't
cool.
mind having it because it wastes the reaction, which gives me the opportunity for running away without taking opportunity attacks, like reorganizing the battlefield a little bit.
Yep.
I'll say my piece when it's my turn. Sorry.
Well, to answer the first questions in order, as a DM, how do you work around players, especially new players, to not metagame with role playing? So basically, I tell them what Dungeons and Dragons is. I'm like, according to your character and your backstory, this is what you know, and this is general world knowledge. I'll give you breadcrumbs, and I'll sort of explain the game of how D&D works. I won't reveal too many of my secrets, even if I get excited, which I've had troubles with. I'm just like, oh man.
All right, then. Keep your secrets.
Yeah, right. Um, so I just try to explain that, hey, this is what you know. This is things that your characters don't know yet. I use the word "don't know yet" a lot when I'm explaining, especially to new players, information gathering in D&D. Second question: what are some spells you think have been written poorly that you may have always rethink the work in your campaigns? There's always a debate on how they're worded, and that's even with Magic the Gathering spells. I would agree that some spells are just extremely well written, like Dimension Door or Guiding Bolts. And some spells are just kind of dumb, like Darkness,
True Strike.
True
Darkness.
Strike, Hunter's Mark,
Oh,
pointless,
I love Darkness.
pointless
I love
spell.
Darkness.
Darkness. What's another one? Devil's Sight. They can be useful, but very, very situational. The one thing that I can say about spells in D&D in general is, depending on the player, and yeah, pretty much depending on the player, you can have two different types of classes in the same party. Like I've had this in a one shot where I'm playing a cleric and my friend's playing a cleric. I'm playing a knowledge domain. He's playing devotion. So we have completely two different sets of spells, even though we're playing the same class. But no, yeah, there's some spells that are written like shit, but like all things, especially us as artists, we know that there's going to be some things we pay more attention to than others. I think that's what kind of happened with some spells in D&D. Or really any game. What are your homebrew rules that you always stick with? Stuff like, do you roll death saves behind the screen? Since I started using Foundry, all the rules that I do, my players see, except when I'm trying to do something special. That's when I literally bring out the dice on my desk. Um, as for homebrew rules, I do something similar to the 1.5 or 5.5 square foot, where people can like move in and out of tight spaces for combat, things like that. Um, what's up, Aaron? The movable rod, everybody. Welcome, welcome. For homebrew rules, I don't really have too many. I kind of go. I like the what as he said earlier with situational rules. If it fits the narrative, it fits the narrative. But I'm not too picky. But I feel like I really run kind of a loosey goosey table because when something sounds right, I'll go with it. It's still D&D at the end of the day. We're still having fun. We're still making memories. I think that's what really counts overall.
Alrighty. Are we on my turn now?
Yep.
All right. How do I work against unintentional metagaming with role playing with the characters that where they I fuck with them. That's what I do. Everyone knows a troll's a weak to fire. At least most people do. So I don't call it a troll. It's just a really tall, lanky guy named Steve with long claws. Like,
No answer ever.
I don't know. I like to change things up just a little bit, not super describe them as it is by the book, just use that as the flavor behind it. So like even by the time they figure out the metagaming part of it, they will probably have figured it out already. Something as well that comes from like homebrew and building the worlds. Sorry, I just saw Phoenix's comment. Everyone, I try and be nice and explain. Christian, I'll fuck with them. There definitely have been moments, I'll be honest, where I've called people out. I'll be like, yeah, you don't know that shit. But sorry, what I was saying. Homebrew world and all that stuff and lore and the world is kind of being decided as theirs, so there's not too much meta knowledge that they can really gain from it. That being said, the more important stuff that would be there is more of like the plot twisty stuff that I'm hiding anyway. But realistically, it's just being comfortable to call your players out, like not in a mean way. Just, you don't know that shit.
I like that we start with I fuck with them and then we end with not in a mean way. It's just perfect opposites.
I mean,
listen, it can be
that's
really
just
fun to
him.
get fucked with, okay? Y'all, anybody who's played with me as their DM knows that I am the expert at fucking with people, but everybody has fun.
Yeah, although I will say I do think that is not a small contributing factor to the fact that the mentality of all of the private chat is, all right, how do we fuck with him back?
1000%. It's a little bit of a give and take, it's a relationship. We step on each other's balls. No, anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you are telling a story and you're hanging out with people and just having fun. So, this camaraderie you guys see is how my energy would be at the table with these people, and like I can look at them and be like, don't be a fucking idiot, you don't know that shit, and they're not going to be mad or upset with me talking with them that way. And that's where you've like helped them. But I guess the question is specifically for new players. I handhold a little bit. New players, I do not mind handholding and explaining a little bit extra to them, but keeping it fun and flavorful and all of that stuff. Yeah, I don't really change too much outside of just I cater to them a little bit. Actually, here's a really good piece of advice, and this comes from my management background. This is a TED Talk that I saw when I was working at Starbucks, and it was actually really influential. Are you ready? Renee Brown, lean into discomfort. Have you guys ever heard that term before?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Anytime that you want to have something where you're learning or growing or like trying to help people and all of that stuff, you're often faced with these situations that are uncomfortable. And as dungeon masters, essentially that's thrown us into a manager position at the table where we are kind of like HR, coaching, etc., as well as the creative and everything. That leads to uncomfortable situations, and starting early on by leaning into that discomfort and being very clear and concise with people will make it a lot easier down the line when you have those hard conversations, to the point where they don't even feel like hard conversations.
Yep.
So just don't handhold around rules and around explaining stuff to them, but don't be afraid to lean into the discomfort of an uncomfortable conversation with them and be like, this needs to happen. So that way you build that relationship with them for future stuff. Anyway, what are some spells you think that have been written poorly? True Strike sucks. Not a fan of Witch. Not a fan of Witch Bolt.
What if True Strike said you could touch their holes? Would you be a fan of it then?
I would just take friends and then touch their holes and run away while they get mad. No, I'm just kidding. True Strike, not concentration, bonus action, perfect spell. That would be my thing. I think making concentration sucks. I think making an action sucks. Not a super huge fan of the way they changed it for 2024, but I don't think it's a horrible change either. Witch Bolt, like, why? Like, you have to keep it concentration. Like, you zap them once, but then you have to stay within a certain amount of feet or it goes away. Like, cool, situational if you can make it work. There's another spell in later levels where I think it's some sort of like contagion spell or something, where you use the spell and they have to fail the save, and then you have to use it again and they have to fail the save, and it's like 7th level, and if they don't fail all of them, if you don't fail all of them, then they don't, like, the spell doesn't work. Like, it's one of those stupid ones. Not a fan.
That's so dumb.
And I am going to throw you guys a curveball on spells that I hate that I think will surprise you. Anything that summons a creature. Why?
What? You don't want the druid? I would like 3 elk, please meme?
Why don't I like it? Action economy. But specifically, it lengthens the fuck out of combat. And 9 times out of 10, I'll be honest with you, players don't have stat blocks ready to go for that. Once in a while, you get a player who really knows their shit and pulls it off, and it's fantastic. And they can run it quick, but a lot of time that just slows the game down.
Yeah, one solution I have found to that, by the way, is if I have a player who has a spell like that, I will reach out to them and be like, hey, what creatures do you anticipate summoning with this? And I will have that shit ready and on deck.
Yep. It needs to. Same thing for like players who play druids. They need to have that shit unlocked before they play a druid. I will shout out, I usually use D&D Beyond for character building. They have the extra section where you can add in pets, familiars, wild shapes, etc. And then you just get a list.
There's an add-on for Fantasy Grounds that allows you to do that in the VTT itself, which is really nice.
Yeah. Now, this comes with the caveat. If the player knows their shit with how to use those creatures, or like does the work necessary to be able to run them effectively, then it can be great. because it's keeping combat flowing, moving, interesting. Or if it's outside of combat, I don't really have an issue with it because usually it's done for flavor and it's fun, and it enhances without needing to detract too much. But realistically, it's mainly just True Strike can eat my ass.
So bad, dude. Worst written thing I've ever read.
What are my homebrew rules that I always work with? I don't have anything that I always work with outside of maybe flanking, but I'm like 99% on flanking. But I do have some rules that I use in person that I don't use on stream. I use rolling death saves behind the table. And I just have to yell at the players not to give reactions. Excuse me, sorry. When they roll, so that way it stays an air of mystery and surprise. Which, when I told you about that character that fell off the building backwards and died, that was done behind the screen, so they didn't know that they were dead until they ran over to try and do a medicine check, and it was heartbreaking in the best way possible. Such a cool story beat. What else do I do? Crits. In person, I do Daggerheart rules for crits, and I have been since before Daggerheart was a thing. So you, let's say it was 2d6 plus 4. I would say it's 12 plus 4 plus 2d6. So I just maximize the dice for the crit. Nothing sucks more than rolling 2 1s on your crit when you're rolling 2d6. I've done that myself. It sucks. I don't like that. Let's get that damage up there because it is a crit after all. Is there anything else that I do? I mean, I come up with fun homebrew rules and homebrew items that are campaign specific. Like my Daggerheart one I'm running right now has Serpent Sickness. When they are affected by Serpent Sickness, they roll an extra fear die, so that way they're anytime it's something action involved, like movement involving, like doing an attack action or trying to do an agility roll or something like that. But like again, it's just one thing that I threw together for one campaign. I think that's fun to have it be specific to a campaign. And Counterspell and Silvery Barbs. The spells themselves, I can see kind of sucking from the DM perspective. On the flip side, however, if you're aware that your players have it, you use that to your advantage to take away their resources. If they're casting Silvery Barbs, they are draining their level 1 spells. If they are casting Counterspell, they're draining the level 3, I think it is. Use that to your advantage. Like, realistically, D&D is about resource management, and they're using their resources, whittle those down, write your campaigns so that way they get, like, rests are hard to come by or they have consequences. That way, them using Counterspell becomes if I use this is my last level 3 spell, and I don't have the capability to cast this Fireball anymore. That's a big fucking deal in some levels, right? Once you start to get higher, even if you took away those spells, you're still pretty much fucked as a DM. If your players know what they're doing. But in that case, you just need to, I'm going to be throwing a shit ton more spellcasters or creatures that know spells.
Get good, yeah.
Yeah. Or on the flip side, use creatures that don't have the spell so they can't use the counter spell. Change it up. Make it challenging for them. Know what your players are doing and have fun and lean into it or counteract it. So I don't necessarily think that they're bad. I just think that they have the potential to ruin the fun for the DM, but if you are planning ahead of knowing they have them, it won't ruin your fun.
I honestly love when a player has Silvery Barb, specifically the one player who always has it, because she will burn all of her spell slots on that shit, and then got nothing left.
Yeah. Also, it is really fun on the flip side the couple times you throw out those spells on the player and throw them for a loop because then they realize, oh, you can have it too. They don't think about it until it happens. I had a silvery barb stashed inside of a belt that was used by somebody I called a technomancer. And it just went off, and these nanobots went flying out of this belt as like a one-time thing. And the player was like, "What? It can happen to
While
me?"
it's slightly off topic, honorary shout out for fucking Glyph of Warding and the number of crazy shenanigans as the DM you can do with Glyph of Warding in dungeons.
Yeah.
One of my buddies did a Glyph of Warding of Fairy Fire at the beginning of the dungeon, and nobody understood what was happening. Nobody realized that they had been fairy fired, so they're just like, "Man, why are these skeletons hitting so much?"
Hmm. Ooh. Also, just on spells in general, I think I saw Phoenix comment something similar to this, or maybe somebody else said it. Don't say what the spell name is. Don't say I cast Fireball. Don't say I use Counterspell, because that is in itself meta knowledge a little bit. I would prefer stipulating like what is happening with the character, what are their hands doing, what is the environment affecting around them, how does the characters feel about it, and then calling for a save or describing whether something hits or not, and not describing what the spell was in name. That can really one, it adds to story, but two, it can also really confuse players when if they're in a high combat situation anyway, they're not going to know exactly what's happening. It can be a fun tactic.
Actual additional bonus points if you're willing to go through the spell list for every spell that you're using on your NPCs and weave together those verbal and somatic components so that you have a set list of them. That can give the players the opportunity to still figure out what that spell is because they know those hand motions, and that feels much more rooted in the world and much less like they know with the wizard moving their hands this way, a fireball's coming, for example. And I think that's an opportunity for it to feel really cool and immersive as well.
Yeah. And then Phoenix did have one other question on there. Was just wondering what other systems we run. I run D&D Dagger Heart. I've done a little bit of Call of Cthulhu, and I've picked up the book and read a bit of Vanguard. And I'm curious as all heck about that one. But have not had a chance to run it yet. And if you haven't heard about it, definitely take a look at it because I feel like you guys would love it. Let me summarize. Final Fantasy inspired. The DM doesn't need to roll dice. Magic. I have magic. I have the players roll to evade and roll to attack. Weird, but I'm curious. Magic, you can go, I hit you with 1 magic point, or I hit you with all 40 of my magic points at once, and I've got nothing else. Full Megamine, if you guys know Konosuba at all.
Explosion!
Yeah. I'm just like, that is such a fun sounding system. I want to try it.
Yeah, that's
who knows?
intriguing.
Who knows if I'll like it, but it's on my shelf and I've read it and I want to play it.
When you play it, let me know, bro. I want
Sounds
to
good,
hear
man.
about it.
Oh, you can be a freaking a dancer is a class. A
Hell yeah.
oh my god, what are those people called that sell shit on the side of the road? Why am I blanking? Merchant?
Merchant?
You just be a merchant. That's your class, merchant.
Who's next on the what game systems question?
What's your three? I want to see what mission you're on with Jay.
There was another question that was added.
Breakfast, bro. My shit is up there. That's why I've been playing.
Why don't we just go?
Because you was taking a break. Did you get the big boy ship yet?
Fargrim, are you
seems
alive?
distracted.
I'm alive.
The frigate.
I'm listening.
Who's next for the system question? Roll that dice.
Roll that dice.
Roll that dice.
6.
I think that was.
That would be Teacup. He just answered it.
Okay.
Yeah. I jumped in.
Ooh, I need to
Dragon.
get that boy from you.
I'm trying. So system question. I'm trying to find it.
I want to see what you got.
It was just what systems have you run besides D&D?
Okay,
Yeah,
that's easy to answer.
it's straight into the point. Mainly D&D is what I've ran. I've done a small Daggerheart campaign that recently ended, but I'm pretty plain besides that. I just stick to the best of systems. Trying to think if there's anything else that I would like to run. This is nothing else is coming to my head. Maybe Starfinder. If I had Starfinder, if I it's a big book. If I had that, I would love to give that a go. But really, those two are the only ones I've run, and that's the only one that I would. And Call of Cthulhu, I think, would be fun to run.
Have you played it?
No, no,
Oh man, you should. It's so much. It's so fun.
I
It's
I
such a
I'm a
step
agree.
fan of
away
Call of
from.
Cthulhu
I
myself.
totally agree.
Though
And
I
if I
think my
keep,
issue was the 1920s. I got bored of it.
you got bored of the 1920s, it's a great time.
Yeah. After like 3 or 4 years of playing it 1920s in your kitchen, eventually you just kind of gets old.
I can understand
fair.
that.
You gotta change it up. I mean, they do have modern, and then they also have a different form of Call of Cthulhu where you're stronger than a normal person, but it's still
Well,
high stakes.
yeah, I've played it in both outer space and medieval and 1920s, and what I came to realize was I liked it better in every setting not 1920s.
I bought a campaign setting book for Call of Cthulhu that I want to run at some point. It's called Time for Harvest, Time to Harvest, something like that. I opened it, flipped to the end, and went, "Oh shit! I really want to run this."
Valid. Margrim, what about you? What have you run besides D&D?
Nothing yet. I will be running Daggerheart. I do want to do Starfinder as well. Just because I'm a huge nerd for sci-fi.
I've heard Starfinder now a couple times. I have no idea what it is. What's Starfinder?
It's pretty much
It's
sci-fi
Pathfinder,
D&D.
but sci-fi.
Yeah,
It's Pathfinder in space.
Mm-hmm.
I find it
I-
very
I-
interesting that none of us said Pathfinder.
I am
Okay.
interested by Pathfinder, but I mean I played it before. I played it I think when I played it at Gen Con many years ago. That was pretty fun, but it's a very interesting game, and from what I've read about it and seen gameplay of, it's more detailed than D&D.
It is D&D. It is D&D.
Right.
It's D&D 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
More specifically, it like the original Pathfinder is literally D&D 3.5 published under a different title after D&D stopped publishing 3.5.
Yeah. From what I heard, it was D&D, but crunchy. I saw some of the creature stuff and I was intrigued, but the system itself, I was like, I'd
I've
rather lean
played
more
it.
into the
I
roleplay.
like it.
Is it different enough from D&D that it stands apart? Like Daggerheart's super different. Call of Cthulhu is super
It's
different.
the way I would describe Pathfinder is it's not different enough from D&D that it stands apart in that it literally is D&D. It's just D&D 3.5. And the
Gotcha.
best way I can describe the differences between D&D 5th edition and D&D 3.5 is as follows. Number 1, and this is I think the best selling point for D&D 3.5 or Pathfinder, whichever name you want to use it. We're not talking about Pathfinder 2, that's something else entirely. Is the sheer amount of customization options for the player characters is phenomenal. It doesn't have an advanced class system, it has a prestige class system. And how that works is instead of you pick fighter and then you pick which flavor of fighter, you pick fighter, that's your starting class. Then you can take a number of prestige classes so long as you meet the prerequisites for them, which allows for any given character to feel completely different than any other given character, and that in and of itself is phenomenal. The other major difference is that, as you said, it's crunchy. The way I like to put it is that unlike D&D 5th edition, where you will find yourself semi-regularly having to make rulings at the table, there is a rule for everything. There is a rule for everything. If you are in a weird situation, don't worry, there's a rule for that. You just have to find it. And for some people, that is preferable to having to come up with something on the fly. Those are the two primary differences between D&D 3.5 / OG Pathfinder and 5th edition. My first D&D ever was 3.5 / Pathfinder, so.
Mine too, and I loved it. All right.
We did
guess
have
so.
another question by I think this was your player D10. What's our
Yes,
favorite
about the
level
tiers.
or tier to DM for?
Oh, great question.
I haven't answered the game system.
I'm just kidding. After Asgear.
So the game system question, what have I played, is a much more expansive list. But as far as what I've run, I have run the old Fantasy Flight RPGs for the Warhammer 40k. That's Only War, Rogue Trader, Dark Heresy, Death Watch. I grouped those together because they all play together. They're all compatible. They're cross-compatible. Takes a little bit of balancing work, but they're the same game. They're really fun. I've run D&D 5th edition. I have run Vampire the Masquerade V20, very specifically V20. I did a lot of research on that versus 5th edition and found I liked V20 better. And as far as things that I intend to run on my list are Vampire the Masquerade V20. I want to get back to that, but I plan to bring it into a more cyberpunk era. I want to do Cyberpunk Red. Fantastic game. Maybe I'll dabble in the V20 of it as well because it's a little bit different in a lot of ways that I like. And then last but not least, Edge of the Empire. I want to run a campaign set in the Star Wars The Old Republic era, very specifically before the game SWOTOR, but after KOTOR. And that's my roster.
I would also like to make an honorable mention for the 40k game. I think that'd be really, really cool for me to at least play or try.
Yeah, I'll add you to my wait list. I'm already one player over maxed.
If anything, I'll just play a Watcher in the Dark.
Oh boy, you should not have said that. We'll talk.
Oh, I know we will. But what is the next question? Are there any more chat questions?
Actually, there was Phoenix did a little summarized one for us here. What are y'all's favorite world to run things in? What is your favorite level or tier to DM for? And they're a True Strike, but we kind of covered that one already. 5.5e is better, but still, 5e sucked. Stamped.
Let's try to rapid fire this so we can move on to more of the actual pre-listed questions. First and foremost, for me, favorite level. I don't really have a favorite level. Each level is unique. Each level is different. I like to play at all levels. I like to run at all levels. It's just a different kind of campaign depending on what level. As far as world setting, I am a man who loves world settings, so I don't have one. I could be, cheesy and say the one that I wrote, but that's just not true. I like world settings. I like to experience different ones, and I like to bounce around.
Yeah. We just round tabling it super quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just rapid fire.
The world's my own. Like everything I do, I like to homebrew from scratch everything. My most ambitious project, well, besides the Feudal Asian one, was going to be my Daggerheart campaign. Native Americans versus Mayan vampires.
That's going to be interesting.
It is. Like colonial America and anyway, it's going to be a very interesting campaign. What were the other parts of that question?
Favorite world and favorite level.
And favorite level.
Favorite level.
Slash tier.
I'm going to go with Azzy. Every level's special, different, unique. It all depends on the game setting you have and the DM you have as well. Um,
Nice.
because a skilled player can treat a
Sorry, I
level.
forgot to mute.
That's fine. A skilled a skilled player could treat a 4th level character almost like a 6th level character under the right circumstances, in my opinion.
I agree.
Uh,
I agree from personal experience. I do it all the time. I forget to level up. Don't notice I haven't leveled up until I start getting mollywopped like 3-4 levels later.
yeah. Um, but I have to say I haven't played 6 level 15 and up. So that's a whole new ball game.
All right. D10, you want to jump in?
Favorite tier to play, probably low second tier. Your players are still powerful enough to put up a fight, but squishy enough that it's not just a cakewalk. And favorite world, I don't know if I have a favorite world. I would love to run a Ravenloft campaign. I haven't had the chance to really do it yet. But that's about that for that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I have different opinions depending on if it's a campaign or if it's a one shot. For level, I think lower level works better in one shot scenarios just from a timing perspective. Usually it's characters you're not super used to. So you're taking longer to make decisions and figure out what you're capable of at higher levels. And then for worlds, I can't pick favorites. I like to play in what I'm playing in the moment. Although I end up with way too much on my plate because I'm like, I want to play in all the things at once.
Relatable.
Yeah. And yeah, sometimes like I get the feeling of like, oh, okay, that's been put to rest. I don't really want to go back to it. Like I had a really successful homebrew campaign. It ran for 20 something sessions. It was monthly, so it took us like almost 2 years to do. But the players like loved it, and it ran from level 1 to 5. It was pretty like small campaign, and a lot of the people wanted to continue in that world and go farther. And we passed the DM torch for that one off. I don't really want to go back to it. Like it feels like there's a pin in that one, right? Because I've got so much other things that I'm thinking about that I'm like, I really want to explore this. I want to explore that. I think for me, it's more like genre preferences. Like I'll always want, like light horror elements in my campaigns. Even in the most like sunshiny campaigns, there's gonna be that weird eldritch monster that pops out. Like there's always that light gore element that
It's always
keeping
fun
the
in
players
games
on
till
their
the players
toes.
make it their pet.
Yeah, so I think that needs to be like an aspect of it. But specific worlds, nah. Give me whatever, and I'll play in it and have fun.
Before we move back to regular questions, on the note the teacup said, if you're an experienced player, if you're a new player, I totally get it. But if you're an experienced player and you show up to a one shot with a character sheet you have not read top to fucking bottom and know your shit, do better.
I played in person at level 5, 10, 8, something like that. I don't remember. I was a ranger. I was at a con. I've never played a ranger before. I purposefully chose stuff on my character sheet that would make it easier for me to understand how to play that character, rather than being like all of these complicated potential spells and stuff like that. I took like jump.
Yeah.
Just to make it
And
so
when I
that
played in yours, I read every inch of that sheet. I read every inch of that.
yeah, gotta show
Help
up
your
knowing
DMs.
We don't have everything memorized, guys. Anyway,
We're not Matt Mercer. I don't know how he does it.
he's been rule checked once or twice.
Very rarely, though. That man knows more. That man has forgotten more about D&D than most of us will ever know.
All right, what's our everybody did that one, right?
Yes. Next
All right.
question. Let me go back to the regular layout. Is how do you handle improvisation when your players derail your plans?
Program, you gonna roll?
6.
That's me.
Man, that die loves you, Teacup.
I don't know,
It
man.
does. Do you want me to roll again?
No, man. Why you steal my thunder?
Okay.
I've already, honestly, my answer is super quick. I've already answered this. I love improv. Improv is my jam. I've improvised entire sessions. The main thing is when you're prepping a session is know what you want the end to be loosely. That way you can still guide towards it. Railroading is when you make them go on a single path. Being a good DM is still having something at the end that your players go to no matter which path they take, which some people think might not be accurate, but yeah, just good at improv and figuring out how to move pieces around so it gets them where they were going to go. Keep them on track. Take an improv class. That's my feedback.
Who's next?
Dragon.
Hey, how do you handle improvisation when players derail your plans? Roll with it. It's the player's world. If they want to derail your plans, lean into what they're doing. Try to figure out what they're doing. One of the best pieces of advice I can give, if your players are trying to do something or they're moving in a direction, it's okay just to ask them, what are you trying to do? What's your goal? That way you know what to do with it, and it's not just all free form. If the players are asking to do something, they go here, they're saying something, they have a plan in mind, and sometimes it's easier just to say, what do you want to do? What are you trying to do? And then go with it that way. Otherwise, you can get wires crossed and you can end up in a wildly different place than they are. But if something's in the moment and happening, just roll with it the best you can. Let the players do the crazy thing. Let the players move the campaign away from something else, and then you can try to get it back on track. If you even want to get it back on track, maybe they're going in a much more interesting direction, and you can redirect over here for a good bit of time until the thing you had planned before comes about in a new form. Just let the players be crazy. Let the players derail the campaign. Derail. It's you'll end up in fun situations. Don't get mad at the players. It's awesome when they do stuff like that, in my opinion.
All right. Is that me next or you, Fargrim?
I'll go, then you'll go. If you're cool with that. The next turn,
Sure.
I'll answer last. How do I handle improv when my characters derail my plans? I celebrate them. I'm like, heck yeah, Snoopy. you discovered my plans. If it wasn't for you and your meddling kids,
Do you mean Shaggy?
right. Well, I was making two
I didn't
different
even catch
references.
that.
Like Snoopy the dog, and then I was making another Scooby Doo reference, but yeah, no. I'm just like, okay, but I still will find a way to do something if time permitting. Example of that, I've tried so hard to kidnap one of my players, but
Hold on,
In real
hold on.
life?
In game?
No, he meant in real life.
That is a
He's got
slippery
his player.
yeah. So in game,
Fargrim. That's why we live so far apart now.
it's like Misery, but D&D style. I just have a nail gun.
Oh no!
One hand on the
I need
table.
I need whatever you're pointing the nail gun at. Don't do it.
No, I'm not like that. Um, no, I celebrate it, but if I really want to do something, I'm gonna do it. And if they try to spoil my plans, I will find a way to do something. Because there's always a way as a DM. There's a will, there's a way. But it has to fit narratively. Like, if something doesn't work out over time, I'm like, cool. That doesn't work. I'll bring up this situation that's even better. But that's how I handle that situation.
So before I answer this question, I just want to touch on something Dragon said. Bold of you to assume the players have a plan. That has not always
Bold
been
of
my
you.
experience. I have regularly encountered players doing things just to see what happens. That's a fairly normal thing at my tables. As far as how I handle this, I'm going to be very brief with it because I've already touched on this in part, which is I run something I call the spiderweb method. And that kind of goes into what Teacup was saying, which for me, the spiderweb method is as such. Write your story not linearly. Don't write it in such a way that this happens and this happens and this happens. Write it in such a way that no matter where your players are going, what your players are doing, they will continue to find themselves brushing up against the story. And they can still choose to just completely and entirely ignore it if they want. I've had that result in a campaign hitting a point where I just decided I was done with it. Because as a DM, you are one of the players. You're allowed to have fun too. If you're not having fun, there's no shame in stepping away. But the other answer is slightly more comical but equally truthful. Always be able to run a session with nothing more than the sticky note behind your GM screen that says sexy goblin in a hula skirt. Some of the best sessions I've ever run have been run completely by the seat of my pants. If you don't know what the players are going to do, go in just knowing what's around them and see what happens.
You know what, Asgear? At some point in the future, just remind me of this moment and say, I need you to run a session that's about a sexy goblin in a hula skirt, and I will pull it out of my ass, dude.
That actually
Yes.
draws on a meme that me and my buddies like to pass around. It's literally just, man, DM, you ran such a good session. You must have had great notes for this. And then it's literally a picture of behind the DM screen, and it's just a sticky note with a stick figure goblin in a hula skirt that just says sexy goblin in a hula skirt.
So Phoenix,
And that's
who's
how
in
we
the
refer to
chat,
unprepared running.
Phoenix, who's in the chat, has seen me run Daggerheart sessions where legitimately my note was less than a sentence. I had a
Yeah.
session that was just a list of rooms and no descriptions next to them. And she's like, they were like, how are you going to run this? And I'm like, eh.
The experienced dungeon master can run with a note sheet that is completely blank.
It was fun. Ended up being a corrupted school where the principal was lying about stuff and a lot of other stuff I won't get into because it's way too long and silly.
All right, I think that brings us to the end of that question. Now we are going to get into the question that I prefer not to answer. How do you manage your time to prep for streams while keeping up with life?
Oh
I
fuck.
plead the fifth.
Oh my god. Hey guys. Um that's-
Yeah, me too. I think we've done a good stream today. I think we can call it there.
Right.
I sorry guys, I have to go prep a session. Actually. It's only 11:30 at night. It'll be fine.
Literally. That that is the question: is how. You know, to answer
Are we
him,
roll
honestly, bluntly, is labor of love, dude. That's what I tell my players. We do this because
Yeah, but what do
we
you
love
tell
it.
us?
the DM Q&A, man? There might be DMs who are listening in who want to know all the tips and tricks.
Yeah, like me. I'd love to know how you actually managed to have a life. Because my answer is real simple. I don't. I'm still trying to figure out what a work-life balance is. I had no model of this growing up. I bleed myself to the bone, and then I get high and recover and do it again. So if you got tips, bro, share them, please.
Oh, I got tons, buddy.
Well, you and I have the same. We're in the same boat on that. But to answer the question first, is our very own Dragon Tongue.
Work-life balance. Yeah, good luck. Okay, step one. Most of us are running like multiple campaigns or have run multiple campaigns, right? Well, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do
Yeah,
that.
don't do it to yourself.
Be a player more.
Honestly, yeah, that's a good piece of advice. If you have somebody that wants to rotate the DM seat, it's less burden on you. Prep streams keep. Look, life. There's so much life, and there's so much D&D, and you find the moments to prep. The best thing I ever did. The best thing I ever did was one time when you start a new campaign, read ahead, dedicate a period so you can read ahead, set up what you can in advance so you can go in and you know certain things are set up. And then 5 minutes before every session starts, you say, "Oh shit, I have to prep something." And you work with what you've already done. There's no real good answer to this. There's really no real good answer to this. Do your best. Do your best. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Do your best.
All right, who's up next?
Permission to get mine out of the way so I can stop thinking about it.
Yes, granted.
Okay, so my real answer, I have two real answers. The first answer is I don't. I have a terrible work-life balance. I have always had a terrible work-life balance. I had zero model for what a healthy work-life balance looks like, and I'm trying. However, if you're looking for advice, I think don't run more than one campaign at a time is a good piece of advice. If you do run more than one campaign at a time, prepare to be in a state of constantly rushing from task to task. But at the end of the day, that is why the number one piece of advice on this front is do something that you love. Because if you enjoy the prep work that you're doing, then the prep itself is going to be fun. And if the prep itself is fun, then you spend less time hating yourself and hating what you're doing. It's one of the reasons why at some point in the next year or two, I am likely going to take a step back from Dungeons and Dragons as a whole and go to other systems just to recharge. Because I've reached the point where for me, Dungeons and Dragons prep has gotten boring. I no longer have the spark. I'm no longer as excited as I'd like to be about it. And so I'm moving to different things just as a reprieve. But if you're doing prep for something you love, something you're having a blast doing the prep for, it's a lot less strenuous. I, for example, in my Rogue Trader campaign, just spent a significant amount of time essentially doing a research paper on ancient Scots because it was tying into something that I was doing. I was having a lot of fun with it, getting back in touch with my OG writer roots. That is the real trick, is be able to run with nothing, prep something that you love, and just try not to put too much on your plate. That's the best answer I can give to this one.
Alrighty, am I up next?
Yep.
All right. So I have toted improv and that I can run sessions and all of that stuff without needing much prep and whatnot, but that is doing a disservice for the prep that I do. And I just said do. When I'm running an oops only campaign, a one shot will run me like 5-6 pages of notes, which for a one shot is insane. Like that's a lot to write out and have all of that detail, like an intricate backstory, updated on what's going on in the world, like all of that thinking and all of that like process to determine what creatures are going to be used during combat encounters and all of that stuff. But when okay, so one thing I'll say, make sure that whatever your work area is suited for you to be able to get this done. So like have your bookmarks in order, find those resources that you can refer to consistently, have your bookshelf in a place where you have those source books that you need that you can grab when you're actually in the process of like setting up your table and stuff for D&D. Like have that in a consistent location so that way that stuff becomes second nature. Like I can't show you right now, but I've got wall-mounted fishing tackle boxes that are labeled for my medium and small creature minis. And then I've got 2 giant shelves that are filled with my my huge and bigger creatures. But they're all organized by type as well. So like all of my beasts are together, like things like that. So that way, if I'm gonna suddenly fight an owl bear, I don't need to think about it. I know he's right there somewhere. I just go and I look for 2 seconds and I grab him. Right?
Yeah, if you're running in person, an organized mini shelf that's in proximity to the table is huge.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say, and this is a bit of a weird one, is practice and get comfortable with theater of the mind. When you're running in person and you have to very, very quickly put together some sort of battle map and you don't necessarily have things together, but you want things to be moving smoothly, or if you're online and you don't got a map for that, like being paused on stream for 20 minutes while you go try and track down a map, that's not gonna help anybody. That's gonna ruin like interest in what you're doing. Be comfortable with having those moments where you run theater of the mind for something. On the flip side, that might be a time for you to take a proper break and you can go and search for something. Usually you're going to use a map right before a combat kicks off. Not always, but usually. And just be honest with your players. We're going to take a 10-minute comeback so I can get a map prepared. But like you're never going to be able to be perfect with it because this isn't a full-time gig and we all have real lives. So do what you can with what you have. But also do your best with being as prepared as you can with what you have. What else is there?
Generic battle maps are your friend.
Yeah.
Have a generic forest map that you can always pull out. Have a generic town map you can always pull out. That way, if you happen to need it, it's already there.
Now, when it comes time for actual session prep, I do very little of it on my computer. I do most of it on my phone, and I use just Google Drive, if I'm being honest. Like when it comes to prepping like Hero Forge, like reactive images and stuff like that, yeah, I might have to use my computer for that. But a lot of times I'm doing my prep like in between reps at the gym, on my lunch break at work, you know, I've got 15 minutes before I'm picking up my kiddo from her taekwondo. Like in those time frames, I'm usually just pulling out my phone and I'm writing down notes for what my next session's going to be. Because time is sacred, and yeah, I'm running too much. So I want to make sure that I have the time to do that. And also just plan ahead. I can improvise my sessions because I have good ideas of where the campaign's going or what's going to happen later on in it. What are the story beats that are important? What are the backstory surprises that I want to throw at my players? You know? So yeah, I'm improvising, but I already know what's going to happen 5 sessions from now. And I'm leading towards it through improv. And those I have notes on. Also just,
Okay.
you know, do one campaign until you're really comfy and then maybe do 2.
I give one other piece of advice. Make sure you have at least one night where you have a clear schedule. Because I have managed to paint myself into this corner where I basically don't, by and large, between playing in campaigns and running campaigns and other streams and stuff. Trying to prep on that kind of a clock is miserable. Don't do that to yourself. Don't be me.
Yeah. I've had weird ones where, like, you know, I haven't had as much time to prep as I would like, and then a session gets canceled, and I'm like, oh no.
Dude, honestly, I have had a couple of major cancellations. As I mentioned at the beginning, I've been less consistent than I would like because everyone's schedules have been crazy. Nothing feels quite as good as knowing that you have a little bit more time to get that one thing you weren't quite ready for perfect.
Can I throw in something? Sorry, no, go, Teacup, go ahead, and then I'll say something.
This is just general advice as well. Related to what Azzy's saying, scheduling is the biggest fucking issue. Don't schedule around your players. I know that sounds super weird. You will have a hard time with it. Instead, this is when you are free as the DM, and this is when you'll play the game. Maybe you've got 1 or 2 people that you really want to play with, and you've talked with them first about what that day's going to be. But chances of you being like, okay, us 6 this month, and then when do we want to meet next month? You're not going to make
Don't
it
do that.
happen.
Have a set day. Have a set day.
Bi-weekly Wednesdays, the first Friday of every month, every Monday, 8:30 p.m. EST. Like, make it.
Doesn't matter what your day is. It has to be consistent. You will never, ever, ever get a game to run if you are trying to do it based on when people are available this week or next month. It doesn't work that way.
And there will be a potential hard conversation when one player turns around and says, I can't make this day work anymore. Can we move it to another day? What I've done is I've talked with the entire group, tried to figure out another day, and if it doesn't work, unfortunately, it becomes that we're going to keep the day and that player is going to have to move or figure out a different way to make their schedule work. Like, it sucks, but...
In the case of me, the answer is just generally no, because I have
you don't have the
play
free time.
cards already full. Yeah, this is the day I have. This is when it's slotted. This is when I can do it, and that's when it happens. And sometimes that means you don't get to have a player you really wanted to have at your table. I've had that happen a number of times.
I want to throw in something that's actually really important to say. If your time prep is interfering with your real life, or you're feeling anxiety or having other issues, it's okay for you to step away from the game. It's perfectly acceptable for the DM to say, this is taking over my life, I'm getting anxiety, I can't do it, I need a break, or I need to step away and we'll revisit it later. The DM is a player, a really important player, and they shouldn't have excess burdens put on them that they can't handle. It is perfectly acceptable to step away from the game for a small period of time or for a long period of time. It's a game. Don't let it completely take over your life. Unless you're us, then by all means. by all means,
Yeah.
this could be you. You could
I
be one of
mean,
us.
for me, I'll say this. This is my job. This is what I do for work. This is my business. This is what I've put every bit of my energy into doing. And even for me, I'm blessed to have players that will bully me into taking breaks when I need them. But I have had to say, look, I just can't this week. I've had a week and a half. It's been a whole ass month. I need some breathing room. I'm taking a day. I'm very sorry.
Nothing wrong with that. Gotta live. You gotta breathe. But yeah,
All right, can we move on to a less anxiety-inducing question now?
Please.
Is there such thing?
Oh God, no! We're moving to a just as bad one. How do you deal with burnout or fatigue from streaming and running D&D sessions?
God damn it.
Ah!
we covered it. We take breaks.
I think
No,
we-
I have real answers for them that are different.
All right, you go then.
yeah.
So for me, my real answer is number one is I deal with it very unhealthily, and I'm not going to pretend I don't. But the things that I try to do is I definitely take breaks when I need them, but making sure that your players are understanding is a really important thing when you're picking your players, first of all. Because even like I'm one of those guys who the way I was raised is when you make a commitment, no matter how small, you hold to that commitment. And so I hold my players to schedule, and I expect them to hold me to the same. But sometimes real life happens, and sometimes you need to not. You need to just cancel. It sucks. It's a reality. You deal with it. But as far as burnout, don't be afraid. Like for me, a huge one is, and this is not advice for everyone, but for me, I have found that one of my biggest solutions to burnout, it doesn't matter what it is, get absolutely astronomically International Space Station high.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
Do
laid.
no, do
Not
only
cutting
the
wood by
things that you want to do on that day and write it. And when I come out the other side, generally speaking, I am vastly more refreshed. I have loosened up. Everything is kind of washed away, and I can get back into it. The other thing, and this is very important, and this is something I've had to do, set boundaries. I have a rule where after 10 p.m. my time, I don't do any work. There are some exceptions to that rule, yes, but after 10 p.m., I don't do any work. And this boundary is not just set for other people, it's set for myself. Because one of the traps that I personally fall into, and I fall into it a lot, is I will be up late at night thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. I have to tell myself, look, we're past 10 p.m. I'm not allowed to work. The work will be there tomorrow. Get up and hammer it out the next day. You have to set these boundaries or you will erode your sanity to nothing. And that goes for anything. This is not just D&D advice. This is anything advice. Fatigue and burnout doesn't matter if it's streaming, doesn't matter if it's D&D, doesn't matter if it's work. If you need to set boundaries with your boss, do it. Because when you're burnt out, you're no good to nobody.
Coffee. More coffee. A espresso martini. Energy drink.
Yeah, be
And
prepared for your energy drink bill to be high.
maybe another coffee if you're feeling a little crazy that day. But usually I have about 2 more coffees on top of that. No, burnout sucks. Don't burn out, and recognize when you're getting burnout systems. Take a break. Be a player for a bit. That's a lot easier generally. Try and have players that can support in that way. If you're lucky enough to have them. If not, there's nothing wrong with taking a break to prep stuff.
Bonus points. If you have players who aren't understanding of your real life situation, you have the wrong players. I'm gonna say it. If your players are unwilling to respect what you need to do to take care of yourself, You have the wrong players.
Unless you take a break and promise you're going to be back every week for 3 months, that might be a little. I even as a player, I'm like,
That's not the same thing though. Like if that's you not communicating honestly with your player, and that's a you problem. If you don't know that you're going to be ready for next week, tell them I need this week off. Hopefully I'll be good next week, but I'll keep you posted. There's a right and a wrong way to communicate with your players, and blatantly lying to them is definitely not the right way.
what? You don't lie to your player? Okay, just kidding.
I lie in character.
Blatantly.
I lie in character. But no, I make it a policy to be as honest with my players as possible because it's important. They deserve the best. They're some of the best players I've ever encountered, and they don't deserve anything less than my 110% and my honesty and my forthright.
Speaking of burnout and working late, I'm starting to get tired. Maybe we'll do one more question after this one.
Yeah, that works because I gotta open tomorrow.
All right, I hearing part 3 at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is this is a really good one. I like this one a lot. How do you stay mentally sharp and engaged during long streaming sessions? I like this one a lot.
Fuck.
I mean, I kind of already answered this. Here's my espresso martini cold brew. Here's my energy drink.
Dragon.
Okay, so in this, I am going to say that I might be the opposite of some of you. You have to stay mentally and sharp and engaged during long streaming sessions. I can't drink anything. I can't take anything. I just water because I can't. If my mind starts to go out, I'm not going to get it back. So no substances, and then I just listen to the players, and I'm mentally just searching for moments that kind of peak a little meter. So I can find something and say yes, that, or they say something and I can play off that. Like talking about the holes earlier. That's a peak moment when you guys start talking about spells that touch people in holes. That makes you mentally sharp for a second, enough to throw in a jab. And
I want to be very clear. There is no holes anywhere in that spell text. That was me. That was all me. I
know.
That.
I totally believe you. You touch the holes on your own without prompting.
Oh Lord, I've made it worse.
It's a beautiful spell. It's a beautiful spell. There's no judgments.
Listen, the somatic component is pretty simple. Oh wait.
Oh God, this is the deeper, darker blackness all over again.
Oh man.
If you have good players, they're going to give you a lot of those moments where there's something they say is just slightly off, or you can take it and you can twist it into something else, and your players will help you stay mentally sharp and engaged. And you just listen for it. You just listen for it. And I promise you, every player at heart is like a 10-year-old boy. They're going to say something completely silly, and it's going to go fantastic.
It does not matter whether it's a boy or a girl. That picture of a 10-year-old boy you have in your head, yeah, even the women players, same thing.
Same thing. Every player is 10 years old at heart, and this isn't an excuse to let out the inner child.
100%. 100%.
I let out my inner children like 2 or 3 times a week. What? Oh, we're talking about something else.
Only 2 or 3 times a week? All right.
I'm busy prepping. I'm busy prepping for D&D sessions.
Oh my God.
That's one way to fight DM burnout, I guess.
Yeah.
for the Eagles.
I plead the
That's
fifth.
how he
Oh,
stays
God.
sharp.
Can I pop in?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please
Like
stop me from saying something against TOS.
Phrasing.
jokes about coffee and all of that aside, make sure that you're setting your times with what makes sense for you. Like personally, I start my stuff right at 8:30 whenever I do streaming stuff, just because that's when my kiddo's asleep, but it's still early enough that I'm not tired for the night yet. Know when to end. Don't go too crazy. Like it's a hard thing to balance. I've had sessions that run 6 hours. We're up until 2:30 in the morning, and it's not great. Like know how to like cut things down or end things at the right time for you, and like take breaks. There's reason why they're mandated in the workplace. Make sure you take them. Have some water nearby, because that's actually one of the things that'll make you the most tired is being dehydrated, especially if you're drinking caffeine. Did you know caffeine dehydrates you, so you get more tired if you don't have water with it?
Not
Starbucks
only
knowledge.
caffeine, nicotine, all stimulants by and large are diuretics.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm fairly certain that includes your prescribed ADHD megs, people, because I know there are ADHD people in this audience.
Drink water. um yeah, we're really cool grown men who play fantasy games and drink your water, kids. Uh
We are
Yeah.
pillars of the community.
I think the mere fact that we're honest about our feelings makes this a lot better than some.
Yeah. And
I'll be real.
it's never gonna be perfect. Sometimes life's got you the wrong way. Sometimes the session isn't moving as quick as you want. You know, it's not a perfect science. We're not experts in this field by any means. Like our players aren't experts in these fields. Sometimes they're newer. It's not gonna always be a super thrilling Game of Thrones episode. Yeah, just do your best to have fun, stay
When it
hydrated.
is, it's the red redding.
Yeah, most of the time it's a Rick and Morty episode, but you know.
Yeah. So, Fargrim, you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
You can go next, and then I'll answer the question, then wrap it up, and we'll do promotions, and
We need to drive down the road for a little
we'll write
while.
out. How does that sound?
I'm pretty sure that
Yeah, we
railroad
should
For me.
raid to the same person. Be cool.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Let's do a massive raid.
we always have
So,
Please.
yeah, for me, how do I stay sharp and mentally engaged during long streaming sessions? This is a multi-part question. That should not be used as a case study on substance abuse. So I have ADHD. I have had ADHD since as long as I can remember. I don't know if I developed it. I don't know what. I probably was born with it. Long family history. For me, I didn't like how the pharmaceutical ADHD medications made me feel. So I personally self-medicate with coffee, energy drinks, and nicotine. That's not for everyone, but if you have ADHD, being properly medicated, whichever method you go for, is a huge help in staying mentally sharp and engaged during long streaming sessions. Shocker, when you have a disorder that makes it so that your focus is bad, taking the things that make sure your focus works is kind of critical. That's just kind of a baseline for me. Beyond that, a lot
Have
of it
meds
is
with your water, kids.
yeah, exactly. Have take the medicines you need to function as a person. Shocking piece of advice, but a critical one nonetheless. So for me, it's a matter of one of the things I'll always do is if I am low on nicotine, for example, which is one of my primary stay sharp medications, I find it works better than caffeine for keeping me sharp as opposed to awake. Um, I make sure if I'm low, I make sure to budget time before session to go out and get more because I don't have a particular dosage. It's whatever I need in that moment. My brain is not always on the same bandwidth every single day. Sometimes my focus issues are worse than others. Another one, and this is something that I have learned to live with as far as ADHD, is knowing how to get back to the session and when to get back to the session. There is nothing wrong with taking times to make jokes and have a good time and get off topic a bit with your players. For a lot of us, we're playing with people we consider friends. And this is one of the few times we get a chance to actually hang out with those friends in the busy hustle and bustle of real adult life. So don't feel bad if you find yourself getting off topic and having a good time with those friends, because this is your time to hang out with them. This is your time to have fun with them, and a lot of that fun can be making those jokes. But it is always good to, if one of your player brings up, hey, can we get back to session, the answer is yes. If you start hitting that point in the back of your mind where you're sitting there going, hey, we really should get back on topic, you're the DM. There's nothing wrong with redirecting back to the session. That's something you're going to have to do, especially because, I'll be honest, the amount of people in the TTRPG community that are neurodivergent is somewhere close to all of them. Um, I'm
What?
sure there's one or two weirdos who are neurotypicals who do this as a hobby. It's not the majority.
I
It's
have
definitely not the
none
majority.
of that. I don't know what you're talking about. No doctor's proven that yet. The fuck is that?
My list of neurodivergence is longer than my arm. I'll be 100% honest about it. The last thing is, it's having good people around you, because when you have the right people around you, it doesn't matter if you're doing a video game stream or a stream for tabletop games, the right people around you make all the difference, as does doing something you're passionate about. If you're playing a game you don't like or you're not interested in, you're going to be bored, you're going to be tuned out, your viewers are going to notice, and it's going to be less fun. That also goes back to the taking breaks. There is a golden rule that myself and a lot of the people in my circles for streaming both TTRPG and not like to hold to, which is, if you're having fun, your viewers are going to be having fun. And if you're not, they can fucking tell. So if you're having a bad day, if you're just having one of those days where you're just depressed to all get out and you don't think you can tell a story that day or do whatever it is you're streaming that day and do it justice for your players, for your viewers, for yourself, take the day. Sometimes you have to. Take care of your own mental health and don't try to force it. Because if you try to force it, people will see that. People will not be as engaged. It is better to miss a singular session. Obviously, if it starts getting to be a long string, you want to do what you can to get it back on track. But if you have, it's better to miss a single session than to put forth something that is not what you pride yourself on, not what you strive for, not what your players and your viewers deserve.
You all gave some really great advice. I really struggle with this. Especially when I'm doing over 4 hour streams.
What happened now, Chuck?
Either if I'm a player or a DM, there's just a certain time where my brain is just like, okay, I need to stand up, do something, listen to music, go to the store, walk around, something, anything. It's not out of disinterest. It's purely out of,
Level up your weapons and
okay,
armor.
my brain is fully, you know,
You tell if you
fully
don't,
capacity of this for the
let
moment.
you. If you don't, you're
May I
going to
give you a
die.
tip specifically, Fargrim?
Yeah.
I took the
This
time
is
to
something
level
that
up
I
my
do a lot.
clothes like
I
I
have the
knew.
advantage because I'm a VTuber.
Mm.
But there's no shame in doing
You're
it
supposed
even
to.
on camera.
I reckon
I
Iron
will
Level
walk
13
over
makes the best
to,
wearing
I'll take a
clothes.
step away from my desk regularly while my players are talking,
It's kind of
and
like
I'll do
Destiny
push-ups.
in a way with the level ups
Ooh.
and shit.
I'll have barbells by my desk. I'll do barbell curls. For a lot of people, physical activity does help increase attentiveness, and there is
Yes.
no shame in working out while you're streaming, keeping that physical activity going and breaking up that sedentary existence to help keep your mental acuity up. If that's something that helps you, then I absolutely would recommend it.
That actually
Speaking of which,
sounds
I'm gonna go do
awesome.
some push-ups right now.
That river runs the whole line.
But normally it's the energy drinks or I'll smoke something just so I have that oral fixation of being a smoker, things like that. Um,
Yeah,
but
Jack Dorsey.
usually when I start the session, especially when it's like a one shot or a session 0 or 1, I hyper focus and I just power train through, or at least I tried to. Um, but yeah, anything over 4 hours I struggle with. 3 hours is my like hard cap or soft cap, really. 3.5 is just like okay, dude. But if there's breaks in between, I'm fine. Like I can order food, you know what I mean? I can
Mhm.
have a smoke, walk around, grab some chocolate milk. Comfort food also
That
helps. Like good old
that
chocolate
does
milk.
remind me of two other things that I like to do. Take a 10-minute break in the middle of the session.
Yes.
Give you and your players the chance to get up, walk around, go to the bathroom, get some food, get whatever they need to keep going, get yourself whatever you need to keep going. And another one for me is music. If I have
Mm-hmm.
the right engaging music, I'll be honest, a lot of days when I'm doing session prep, I spend more time putting my musical notes together than I do putting the actual session notes together, because the right music can keep you in the zone. And if your players are hearing it as well, if you have something set up like I do for the players that helps with, it'll help them as well.
I need to start doing that more, especially with Foundry. But how was that everybody?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's let's
How many questions do
figure
we
out.
have left, Dazzy?
We are about halfway through the document.
Oh my god.
So
If
sessions 3 and 4 upcoming.
okay,
Yes.
yep, next year and the year after.
This annual tradition.
If I may say one final thing, and this is not from a DM perspective, but it's from a player perspective.
Yes.
This is obviously something you want to talk to your game master about. This is not something you should just do. However, it is an exception that I have carved out for my players, and it's a thing that we do in our circle, and it's worked very well for us. Which is that for a lot of us who have ADHD, if you don't have enough stimuli going on, it can be hard to stay focused on anything. And so I have a golden rule at my tables that most of the tables in my community hold to as well, which is that if you have ADHD and you need to play a video game in the background while you're playing D&D, so long as it does not interfere with the gameplay, and if it does, the DM will talk to you, me or someone else. As long as it does not interfere with the gameplay, do it. Do what you've got to do to keep yourself sharp, keep yourself focused. I know logical I know logical plays in some of my games. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Total War Warhammer get booted up via my Steam notifications while we're getting ready for a session. Like, if that's what you got to do and you've talked to your DM about it and that's something they're okay with, do it.
Listen, you gotta purge and do for the Emperor as you can.
In this case, Karl Franz, because it's the fantasy one. The 40k one hasn't hit yet. I'm waiting. But yeah, that's my final piece of advice. Obviously, don't do that if your DM finds it disrespectful. Respect your DM, don't be a dick. But if that's something that helps you and your DM is cool with it, do it.
Sweet. Yeah. I definitely browse my phone when I'm a player because I don't have ADHD that's diagnosed for sure. Definitely not.
I think the craziest thing that I've ever done, I don't remember what the context of the session was, but it was a session that I knew I was going to be doing very minimal talking as the game master for,
Mm.
and it was going to be a lot of players doing player things, and I was just going to be answering questions. There was definitely, I've only done it once because there was only one session where I had that little to do in my career so far, but I was playing Call of Duty the entire time I was running. Now, granted, I died a lot because of that, because there were definitely times where my players needed my attention imminently, and I was like, okay, it doesn't matter if I'm in a firefight. I let go of my keyboard, I did my DM thing, and I went back to it. But that was what I had to do to stay sharp, so it's what I did.
I don't know if I could do that as a DM. As a player, like I'm still paying attention, but I've definitely like thrown on Pokemon TCG Pocket as like because like I can just quickly like I wouldn't play online. I would just do like the main like missions and stuff like that. But it's something just to keep me like I'm still listening to what's happening while while doing something else. It literally is no different than me driving to work and listening to a podcast at that point.
Mhm.
I feel like I could
But
put together. Oh, sorry. Please
I was just
continue.
saying the word agreed. That was
Mm.
it.
Sorry about that.
No,
It was
you're
all
good.
good. I was done.
Well, are we ready to wrap and raid?
Yeah, let's raid. Who we want to
Rapid
raid to?
raid. That's a good question.
I don't know. Let me look
Who
at my
should we
list.
raid
See if we
to?
have anyone.
You, or you? We're gonna rap and raid.
I think we should raid the Fargriff.
You're this really, really fucking cool dude. Right now.
So, other
Runs a
than you
podcast
guys,
called The
none of
Dumbs.
my normals are here.
Likewise. There's Critical Role, but I
I'm
don't
not
think they
raiding with a
take
critical
Yeah.
raids.
role. That's a drop in a pond.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up Dungeons and Dragons as a list and see what we got.
I see this dude Nat One-Liners. They have
That's actually a pretty dope name. I like it.
29 followers and only one
Man,
person watching.
there's this guy who only has 8 viewers right now. His stream says may contain sexual themes. This dragon teacup, they might be interesting.
Uh, you know what? I've been in their streams before. It seems like they just improvise a lot of the stuff. Like they're funny and they're extremely attractive, but that's all they have going for them.
Yeah. Yeah, can't argue with that.
Extreme.
Like I can't
Yeah.
stress enough. Solid 11 out of 10, but he can't keep carrying his streams on just good charm and facial hair. I can't. Being
I
such
beg
a
to
shit.
disagree.
Ooh.
Um,
Oh, true strike me.
Will Daddy.
I got a cramp.
What on the fuck is? There's a guy with 32 viewers. They're doing Pokemon D&D.
I've seen them stream before. Actually, I haven't been in their stream, but I've seen them like. I don't know. That sounds weird.
I don't know. It sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. Sparkles Mandy, I think, was streaming earlier.
She's
you
playing
don't know who that is.
Stardew. But we can still raid her.
There is a guy just doing world building. Ask me anything about my world.
Yeah, I'm down for that guy.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Post them in the chat thing.
Flavian. It looks like they. Not sure what, but we'll go with that. That might work. Second, pull them up so I can get this going. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. My raid has started.
What's the guy's name?
The
It
Avon?
was posted in the share chat. Yep. See Avon.
Oh, there he is.
68. Yeah, look out there, all the orange. Or yellow.
All right, I've got the raid created. I'll hit raid now when you guys say.
Mine's doing the ready to raid in. For whatever reason, it's
Alright.
being laggy. My computer gives me like no lag anywhere in the world except the raid screen.
Everyone good to go?
Ready to go.
Almost.
Yeah, it should be ready to go.
Mine's still saying ready to raid in 9 seconds and taking forever to change that. I don't know why.
Oh shit, they're coming
You
out.
might just have to come in after us because I'm almost out of time.
Okay, you guys go. It's okay. I'll join in a second.
3, 2, 1.